I'm Aaron Pabon with Game Journalism Network, and today we're interviewing Paolo Munoz, aka Game Diviner. There's been a lot of interesting controversies this week in the past 3 days, but there seems to be a relieved pressure of everything that's been going on. Paolo, how are you doing today?
Still sleep deprived. Anyone who knows me on Twitter knows that I've been actually talking to everybody for the last few days. So both a Twitter addiction and lots of things that have been going on. But things are going actually really good, guys. If you want to check my feed and Ralph's feed, it really is very good, guys. So please don't take any offense to this, or on behalf of each of us. We're actually free and clear. I mean, the thing is, I think all of us, including QQ and Netscape 9, everybody tried to do the right thing. Each of us in our own mind tried to do the right thing. Now, Aaron, what kicked off this whole thing was that you want to go ahead, Aaron, or you want to?
No.
Okay, sure. All right. What kicked off this whole thing was that during the darkness that we were facing when it came down to Sarah Nyberg's article came out, right? So all of us were facing our own demons at that point. It got pretty dark, and we saw a lot of people we respected, including Mark Curran, really lose it because it hits at the heart. And not only that, but just seeing the level of cognitive dissonance, as I said before, it really is just heartbreaking. So everyone was falling apart. And all of us have, like, on Twitter, there's these conversation groups, large conversation groups. And in order to coordinate a whole bunch of people, we have like this, the GJN Miami group is one big thing. There's like at least, I don't know, 12 to 20 people in this group. And everyone was just talking about the drama and how awful it is and how, what could we do? Is there anything we could do? The person who talked to me, who typed the message, said to me on this group, he said, "Paolo, can you do a video, say something, get people encouraged again?" And he guilted me. He said, "You're kind of like the Pope of Gamergate, do something." And I'm like, okay, guilt works really well in Catholics, right? So he got me thinking, and I've already tweeted and talked about this online on different streams. I tweeted it since AirPlay. Maybe we should call it a win and get an end on a high note, as opposed to this dark place we're in. Do something positive, end on a high note. But let me couch that, because that's the issue. It was phrased as the end of Gamergate. What I didn't fully propose, because I didn't get a chance to, was the idea was that the cops don't go home. The cops are still around. The cops are still there policing things. The question was, do we need the uniforms? How much scarier is it if everyone around you is an undercover cop and you don't know it? Because they're not wearing a uniform. They can't target you. They can't find you. They can't isolate you. They can't say, "Oh, look, there's a cop over there. We're gonna hide over here and perform our crimes because we can see the cop because he has the GG label on his shoulder." That was something that was in the back of my mind. Like, yes, we can call it a win, because the other thing they accuse us of is that we're a hate group, right? What is the one thing that a hate group can't do?
Declare victory.
Right. They can't. Yeah. Feminism is so far into its own hate that they're calling microaggressions. They're calling things about manspreading. They're writing articles about misogynists on Mars, and now they're, that's where feminism is. It can't let go of the hate. Gamergate isn't about hate. So that idea got in my head. This was about like Saturday or Sunday, because it really got really dark over this last weekend, right? So I started like fielding out this idea in this large group of people with the GJN Miami group, like, maybe we should try this thing. And people had objections on it, and they said, this sounds really crazy. Now,
I'm sorry to interrupt, but open disclosure, because I'm still tagged in that group. I do get these messages.
Yes.
And I actively chime in and I ask questions. And I did ask you about this as well. And this is something you had been somewhat openly talking about since AirPlay.
That's right.
And it's something that you pulled people aside, and you did talk about this publicly. I do remember you talking about this publicly a couple of times. You talked about it with Oliver. You talked about it with me. Yeah. And it was initially an idea.
Yes.
It was initially an idea that after AirPlay, just call it done and over with. Yes. And it would alleviate much damage. And unfortunately, when we look at what happened a couple of weeks ago, with the deaths of these two journalists, you had people accusing Gamergate being a part of this because someone trolled.
Yes, that's another thing that I was watching out for. Is that, you know, you're part of this hate group, and look, this person is Gamergate. He killed somebody. He was the Virginia shooter who killed these news people. It's like, no, he wasn't. Or how about this other guy who, this other troll that came up and said that he was playing all sides, right? He was playing Gamergate and anti-Gamergate. He was playing against the feminists and the white. He was a big troll. They said, oh, look, he's Gamergate. No, he's not. Well, the other idea was like, well, if we say we're done, we close the hashtag. We have a little bit over a year of history of a group that said mission accomplished. They did their job. They went home, and there was no violence. There was no one who was put in jail. And no one they can no longer connect to an open, active hate group because we're done. We finished, right? I mean,
So
that's the idea.
This wasn't a massive conspiracy.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. I mean, it was always out in the, at least I thought it was sufficiently out in the open because I'd been talking about it in public, on streams, in large DM groups. They're not like cabals. These are people, like regular people. There was all sorts of people in the GG in Miami meetup, and I still talk to them. I still talk to the people who I met in DC. I still talk to the people who I met in the RVA, the Richmond, Virginia meetup. I still talk. I mean, these are large groups of people just doing things. And so there were only a couple people I pulled aside and said, hey, you know, what is your thoughts? Like, what are your thoughts? And I kept talking to them over and over, like over the last like 2 days of like people I was just doing. I didn't even sleep Monday because I was busy up late at night talking to Andrew Gleason, who he's known as Otter Jesus on Twitter, and he was like, Paulie, you're crazy. You know, these are the ways it could go wrong. And I actually like typed it out with him and said, okay, well, here are the ways it could go wrong. The thing is, like, when I told Ralph personally, was that we either all had to do it or none of us do it because the idea wouldn't work. There's no divide and conquer strategy because there's no way, there's no way for this to work if half of us go. Because they'll cast it in the light of Gamergate throughout the moderates. See, they're really a hate group, and that's one thing that Otter Jesus was telling me, and I'm like, yeah, it wouldn't work if that happened that way. I mean, these are the ideas I was fielding. I was just talking to people who I knew one-on-one, up and down the entire ladder. I even went down to places like GG Revolt. You know, what did GG Revolt think about it? And GG Revolt, you know, to their credit, is not a hive mind. There are whole bunches of factions there that I had no idea existed because I was interviewing everybody, and I found people who that they hated each other. Like one person, if you look at the boards themselves, you can find rivalries over there already. But yeah, they're not one group, and that's the other thing too. We label them as GG Revolt. That's the thing. Identity politics. Oh, you're GG Revolt. Therefore, I won't listen to anything you say.
Now, on the notion of identity politics, because this was actually something you mentioned in a stream a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
Because we've identified Gamergate on this channel.
Yes.
As journalistically as possible, as it is a hashtag movement that encompasses a bunch of variety of controversies, one of them primarily being ethics in gaming journalism.
Right.
And there has been an invisible line drawn and sides have been taken. You're either on the anti side of an argument or pro side of the argument. Personally, I believe on the pro. Personally, I believe in the argument for ethics in gaming journalism.
Okay.
Now, when it comes to sides, though, however,
yeah,
you made it very clear that there were not necessarily sides. That it goes back to how you mentioned before in a previous stream.
Yeah.
Watergate. You're not pro Watergate. You're not anti Watergate. But in this situation, it's a little bit different, so to speak.
The reason why it's different is because they want to apply Gamergate as an out group of weirdos, of strange people, of terrorists. That's how they use the label. In a way, we fell into it because it became a culture. It was only natural for us to start identifying with the one thing that brought us together. It's only human, and that's one of the. But it was a big concern because there's issues of tribalism, issues of groupthink. This is the strength of Gamergate is because it is diverse all over the place. And the person who actually talked to me about these things is the QQ. The QQ is an analyst. He actually understands all the different parts of Gamergate. He told me about the more than just simply Twitter, KIA, and Reddit. There's TeamSpeak places. There's IRC places. There's the forums and the escapists and other places. There's the YouTube culture of Gamergate, which doesn't even touch some of these places too. He was fielding it out and saying this is the large part of Gamergate. And he actually gave me a list of people to contact. Well, let me go back a little bit because he told me it was also a stupid idea. He actually gave me a long dissent and he actually read it out loud. It's very eloquent on the stream that I did a couple nights ago. And he said, this is the dissent. But he's an analyst, so he said, well, here's a counter proposal that's just to field out some ideas and stuff like that. And I looked at it and I said, this is really dumb. The part that I liked was that it broke up identity politics. The part that I didn't like is that it's totally inhuman and radical. So, but he's like, throw out the idea out there. We're throwing out ideas. That's all it was. It was throwing out ideas. And he gave me a bunch of people to contact. Acid Man, which I never got to, unfortunately. The moderators are KIA, which I never got to, unfortunately. But he gave me all these people to talk to. So I'm like, okay, I can talk to what people one by one because I generally joke with everybody. I don't fight with people. The only people I block are people like, who are after screenshots like butts and stuff like that, who are actually actively, angry all the time. So that's I have that ability to talk to. I even talk to antis. I have streams with anti-Gamergate many times and ask them what their opinions are. And funny thing is, a lot of them actually agree on the ethics policies too. They just think that Gamergate's the wrong instrument, that Gamergate's angry, and they have their own form of tribalism. So those are things that I started fielding out. What people think. I got neutrals involved. And you can see on my Twitter feed, Bro Team Pill even was one of the people who gave me feedback, not directly, but he gave me a little bit of feedback and thought it was kind of neat. Either way, there was a lot of people I fielded all over the place, not up and down. Now, when I QQ at the same time has a similar concern. His concern is that there are a lot of people out in Gamergate who tend to be a little bit more instigating infighting, who tend to listen and believe a little too much because that's our own confirmation biases, our own fears are in us. So what he wanted to do is he wanted to give people something to self-reflect on. What he did was he was fielding his thing at the same time I was, just to see what would happen. He knew it would create controversy. He actually told me that from the very beginning.
Now we're talking about the paste bin that he put out?
Yes, the paste bin. The devil's advocate.
He did confirm that, because I did interview him yesterday. He did confirm that,
Yes.
and everything of that nature, because he said that it was essentially trolling.
Yes, he was trolling. Well, why? Why would anyone want to troll? Is it just to simply stir drama? No, he wanted people to think.
Right.
And that's the thing. He's an analyst. He wants people to think, self-reflect. How did I react to this? What are my own inner fears? See, the reason I don't take it personally is because for a lot of us over the last year, we've lost our personal heroes. A lot of us over Gamergate. We've lost a lot of our friends, sometimes family members, sometimes our celebrity heroes, for goodness sake, people we looked up to.
If I can ask, who do you feel like you lost in this?
Oh my God. I actually used to like Will Wheaton. People would kill me, well, crucify me for that. But that speech about him about standing up for nerds really resonated with me. And the moment he said, he cast us aside. He cast us aside, even though he had that whole speech about how to stand up for nerds, for the things that you love, for the things that you're passionate about. He cast us aside for his friends, right?
Right.
For this crony clique that we know about. He cast us aside for that. And then, Joss Whedon threw us under the bus. Some game developers. Okay,
Would it be safe to say though that also we gained heroes at the same time too from this?
Yeah, so a lot of our game development heroes we lost. People who made our video games that we love. I was part of the indie dev group hashtag at the very beginning of Gamergate. You guys didn't see how that split us in half. People who were afraid to speak up because they were afraid they were going to get castigated by the clique. And those who did speak up, like Jennifer Daw, we found out that she was on a blacklist early on. This is before there was a shared Google Doc of a secret blacklist that we found out at the very beginning, and Jennifer was on it. And I'm like, they won't listen to you because of what you're saying? You're speaking up for the gamers. Why? It split us in half.
So now let me ask you about that, because this is where things get a little strange, because
sure,
we're hearing about how gamers listen to the anti-side. They're saying that it's misogynistic. They're saying it's hate group and everything like that. This blacklist comes out. Jennifer Daw's on this list. Jennifer Daw is a female game developer.
Yes.
So why?
Because it
wouldn't make sense that you have a female game developer come out,
yeah,
say her opinion on what's going on in the industry, what's going on with ethics and journalism, all these things, and all of a sudden she gets blacklisted. You can understand the absurdity of this a little bit.
It's actually not absurd. She's not one of their friends. That's all it is. The cover is we're speaking about women women in gaming. The truth is she's just not part of the clique.
Now, that brings up another interesting point with that, because this is something I've always been trying to understand for a while. And it's something it's a question I proposed, and it's something that I've been trying to understand as well, has been, you look at a lot of the people who are making the anti-side of the argument. I mean,
Right.
if we say their side's the anti-side of the argument,
Yeah.
and one of the biggest...
Aaron, are we going too far afield into the history of Gamergate rather than simply like, you know, the drama at hand, which I think is actually something really important?
Well, it's just a question within this, but it's
okay. Go ahead.
With developers coming out and saying this,
yeah,
and they're getting blacklisted, and you have all these developers, you know, coming out and going against what's been going on. What heroes have we gained out of this since we've lost heroes and game heroes?
Adrian Schmirlash, he's going to kill me for that pronunciation. He made the Vanishing of Ethan Carter. We had Jay Truman, who came out just recently he did Operation Flashpoint. We had Mark Kern, who did the first StarCraft and lead developer of World of Warcraft, and one of the biggest lewd posters there are out there. You know, we've gained a lot of heroes. We've become our own heroes. That's the thing. So many of us are larger than life if we look at each other. So for me, I don't take it personally that someone says, you know, Paulo's too large. You know, he's too unreal. Like, fine. You don't believe it. And all of us like are always on the edge. We live in an age where we don't believe in heroes anymore. You know, all our heroes are somebody terrible, and you know, we get disappointed when we get older, and that's the truth of it. It's human nature, and I don't take it personally. So people think I'm too unreal. Okay, that's fine with me. But what QQ was doing, going back to that, what QQ was doing was he wanted people to think. I mean, there was no other evidence out there but that it was put out there out of context. Netscape 9 is one of those people who believe strongly in his heart that there's some sort of conspiracy going on, that, you know, someone's trying to control the hashtag, someone's trying to control the narrative somehow in Gamergate. So when I told him the list, you know, here's the list of people who I talked to. I only listed the people that I thought he would know. He asked me directly, is Sargon involved? I said, well, directly or not, I couldn't nuance it. If you look at my AMA on Reddit, there's a lot of nuances I tried to add because I talked to a lot of people. You know, this person said yes. This person said, well, you know, this is a sort of bad idea. This person said this. This person said that. And this person only gave me one line of text who said, you know, it sounds right. That's Oliver. Oliver said this, you know, like, I think you, like, was it, I think you may be right. Was it, I had to think about it, but I think you may be right. That's all he said. But I gave him a wall of text. So in context, what does that mean? I was just pretty enthusiastic about just spreading this idea around to get people's feelers out there to see what people thought. And I thought I did this pretty out in the open, at least in my opinion. There's nothing there. So when Netscape 9 got this list, his confirmation bias is that there's something going on, and he saw this and put it out there as fast as possible because he's like, this has to come out. Everyone has to see it. And I'm just simply talking to people like normal, because I do this all the time. I talk to people.
Right. Then you talked to Ralph about this publicly.
Yes, I talked to Ralph about it publicly, and it was a little bit heated because Ralph. I don't think you guys should understand. Ralph is pure passion. Okay, Ralph is 100% passionate, and let me put this 100% clear. Ralph and I are good with each other. The reason why, now listen to this. The reason why, and I told you guys how tight Ralph and I are. Did I do it on this? Ralph and I have been through a lot together. He and I were together when we were filming Brianna Wu at RavenCon.
Right.
I mean, I was the cameraman, for goodness sake, and I wanted to be there to make sure that the cops wouldn't beat him up, or like, you know, there was some sort of false police report about harassment when it didn't happen. I was. We
also traveled with him to other Gamergate events as well.
Yeah, just one. We went to GJN DC together. Spent the whole day because it takes quite a while to drive up there. You know, we actually went to Five Guys just as a joke, but we drove all the way up there together. And when we left the building, we found out about the bomb threat. I mean, these are things that Fireforge friends together, right? These are events that you look at it and you look at the person next to you and you say, there's a bond that can't be broken because we experience these things together. Now, Ralph, given this information, given the fact that there's a lot of paranoia around the tag, remember, there's some gaslighting going on too from the antis to break us apart, to make us hate each other, to make us shill hunt, right? But Ralph had to make the choice between doing the right thing, which was telling the truth or siding with his friends. Everyone we've been dealing with on the anti-Gamergate side, this whole crony clique, does the opposite. They side with their friends, but they don't tell the truth, right?
And you felt Ralph did the complete opposite.
Yeah, he did the
He
right
sided with
thing.
his friends and told the truth at the same time.
You know, he was willing to betray a friend to do the right thing.
Right.
The clique will never do that. And so when Ralph did his thing, I'm like, I understand what he did. I mean, did it hurt? Well, yeah, it did hurt a little bit, but at the same time, like, if I look at it like from a distance, away from the emotion, which I'm able to do, Ralph did the right thing. And all the people who got mad at me, who are asking me, getting, you know, asking questions, demanding a question, people who have been hurt and chastised and isolated and had their heroes dump on them. Now they have one of their quote unquote heroes of Gamergate there who finally betrays them. It's like, can I blame them? No, not at all. That's perfectly reasonable. I mean, like, why wouldn't the most quote unquote unlikely person to be a traitor, right? I mean, like, if I think about it, yeah, if I was thinking of the mind that this is really like a trap, right? Who would be the perfect person to do it other than this guy, right? It all makes sense in everyone's minds, but the issues at hand are that everyone has their own confirmation biases. So QQ, when he did that, he wanted people to think, break up the groupthink, break up the tribalism, get people to talk about things, because goodness sake, that's what his job is. He's an analyst. He looks at people, looks at systems, and understands them. And that's one of the things I really respect about QQ. What I respect about Netscape is that, you know, he thought he was doing the right thing when he found information about something. Everybody in their own mind did the right thing. Now, there's lessons that can be learned about this in terms of journalism. It's like, you know, a right of reply. I kind of sarcastically said that at Ralph out in the open. I said, you know, right of reply would fix a lot of this stuff. You know, Ralph himself, when we actually had lunch together, and in my excitement, I was telling him, look, we either all do this or we don't. He didn't put that in context. So when the divide and conquer like plan came out, it's like, those two are not the same thing. And when people, and then the other bias people realize, you read headlines, but you don't read documents, you don't read substance. The headline was the end of Gamergate, right?
Right.
That meant something very different than the end of the hashtag label. We're just ripping out the label, we're taking off the uniforms, but the cops are still here. The soldiers are still doing their duty. We're just doing it in plain clothes so that the enemy has no idea who we are and they can't isolate us anymore. That was the idea. And so the whole thing was just simply a whole big clusterfuck. No, sorry, I don't know if this is a PG rated stream or anything like that, but that's what it was. I didn't take it personally. I didn't take anything personally. And somebody actually went up to me during the middle of this whole thing. I don't know if this person was a gaslighter or they really meant it sincerely. They said, you know, Gamergate's full of hate, they said. I said, no. You can see this on Twitter if you find it. I don't know where it is. I said, Gamergate's not full of hate. Gamergate is passion. Gamergate is people who want to do things. Gamergate is acting out of love for the right thing. That's what makes us so different, is that we give a fuck, right? We want to set the world right. So when someone asks me, like, Paolo, this is an impossible thing. Can you get Gamergate to do this impossible thing with unanimity, how diverse we are? And like, you know, can we do that? And I said, I believe in gamers. I believe they can do the impossible. Like, for goodness sake, we saw people beat Twitch plays Pokemon. How unlikely is that for people to win that game? People were, if you want to relate anything to Gamergate, Twitch plays Pokemon is basically what we're doing. It's so freaking chaotic. We can't decide what to do, but somehow we're still managing to beat the damn game. You know, by accident.
There's been a talking with people within this whole movement, there's been an underlying thought process, which is, you know, people are still going to actively continue this fight. People are still actively going to talk about this.
Yes.
But the ideal end is that people want to just go back to playing video games together and you know, let the change happen and keep going. What is your ideal end to Gamergate? Because you had this idea, and unfortunately that this got blown out of proportion. This got blown up into a different level that you didn't expect happening. No one expected to happen like this. Things got blown up. But aside from what just happened, your ideal end of all of this, because we have been seeing changes within the video game journalism industry. We have been seeing some changes. Unfortunately, a lot of the changes have not happened. Some people are still actively having issues within the industry. But what is your ideal end?
Well, the ideal end is not that we stop watching, right? We have a new what I was trying to couch as a new normal. Our new normal is skepticism. Our new normal is fact checking. Our new normal is trust but verify, not listen and believe. We have a lot of these memes that have been drilled into us again and again. That these are things that we should not take for granted. So in terms of a new normal, like even if we just pretended that everything ended, we would still be doing the same shit, wouldn't we? We'd still be checking it out. We'd still be not believing it. We'd still be talking about it, for goodness sake. We'll be talking about this for the next, I don't know, 20, 30 years. I mean, hell, I was telling Ralph in my stream, I said, dude, when I'm 70, I want to be able to have drinks with you and tell you about these times. I mean, can you imagine? I'm going to tell my kids about this stuff, the crazy adventures, like the day that WikiLeaks came out and said it goes all the way to the top. We're like, what? And look how far we've gotten, how far this thing goes, how broken the whole system is. And you know what? Gamers can be part of the solution. That's the whole thing. The ideal end is there is no end. There really isn't. The quote-unquote end is just the end of the quote-unquote label. You tear off the label, put it up on the mantle, and say, look, this is what we accomplished. The vigil is not over. Eternal vigilance is what we have in our hands.
Now, on the notion of taking this label and elsewhere, a lot of people have been saying, why haven't we done that before? When this all has started, why didn't this happen initially?
Well, I didn't realize it, but other people fielded the idea before me. I mean, why don't we try this? I mean, why don't we try that? And I didn't know that. I mean, there's a lot of, God, there's thousands of hours of video, thousands of hours of thousands of pages of thoughts. QQ himself wrote that devil's advocate position way before. He's a really smart guy, and one thing I'll definitely say about QQ is that he has some stuff that I talked to him about that we need to talk about at the end of the stream. But we have new ops, and actually, even though QQ and Ralph don't like each other, I mean, everyone has their role. There are people like Oliver Campbell who help light a fire under people. There are people like me who are able to talk with everybody. Ralph is the type of person who will attack. He is the attack person. That's why no one's going to like him, and that's a path he's chosen. But we also need him. QQ is an analyst. There are people in GG Revolt who do things that I'm like, that I talk to them like, you do that? And they're like, yeah, this is what I do. I take a look at the psyops in different areas. I'm like, we have psyops here? I had no idea we had that. We have factions that are fighting all the time underneath the surface of Gamergate. And I'm like, I had no idea these things existed. That's what happened when I started talking to people. So I said, basically, just to let the cat out of the bag, I told Ralph, look, rather than talking about drama, why don't we talk about this major conflict of interest that QQ found? I know you don't like him, but how about we hand over the data that QQ has over to you so you can attack it? And then get everyone looking at it, at least. I mean, get other people digging at it, get other people putting it out in new formats. The Leo Pirate is great at presenting information. I mean, look what happened with Sarah Nyberg. If Leo Pirate gets through this information, what can he do with it? How can he present it? Because he lights a fire a different way. Sargon does a different thing. All the people who have all these different ideas, we need ops to create games so we can play with each other. We have the biggest collection of gamers out there. Why haven't we started tournaments? Things like that. It's a family, for God's sake. The thing is huge. This thing could do so much more. And so at least on the part of happenings, after all this stuff and the whole thing came up and done, I was like, QQ, why don't you just give this information over to Ralph and let Ralph publish it? And that's the stuff that's happening now. But guys, this thing's huge. This conflict of interest is huge. No one's been looking at it because QQ's been talking about it for weeks because QQ doesn't have the right way of presenting the information. He's a smart guy, but he's not able to present it right. There are a lot of people out there who are incredibly intelligent but just don't have the right kind of voice. And that's why we need each other. We all have our strengths and weaknesses in this thing. And the more I look at it, it's like the more it's amazing how everybody around us has just the right people appear at the right time. The other thing I was worried about, and this is something that someone told me, and I realized it's not the case. With Gamergate, what I was worried about was the Occupy Wall Street effect. We're attracting a lot of people to Gamergate, and that over time, what happened with Occupy Wall Street was that it fell apart, right? It fell apart from the inside because all the crazy started coming in, all the normal started leaving, and then eventually it fell apart. And that's
I also covered. I actually covered Occupy Wall Street briefly,
Mm-hmm.
but one of the issues also was at the core beginning, which was they wanted to bring awareness.
Right.
But when you asked what they wanted to bring awareness to, you had people saying so many different things at the same time at the beginning.
Right.
So it was kind of one of those things like I covered the Miami movement specifically. Originally, it was just talking about the 1%, and then all of a sudden, oh, we're talking about Bank of America. All of a sudden, we're talking about every political issue in Miami, which had no relation to Occupy Wall Street initially. So like there was all these issues. When it came to Gamergate, however, there was one problem.
Right.
And other problems started coming in, specifically from an opposition standpoint, but everybody was trying to be clear, well, here's the problem. We'll defend ourselves on the other side and come what may.
Well, the thing is, what we're focusing on is drama. Drama draws a lot of attention.
Right.
What QQ was trying to talk about was something really not very sexy. It's conflicts of interest. It really aren't sexy. The right people need to be able to present that information in a way that clicks with people. Ralph is one of those people who could put it out there and say, hey, take a look at this, guys. Look at this. This was headed by Alex Lifshitz, and it is. That's part of it. You actually look at, oh, look at this. Alex Lifshitz is up to this. Look at this group. What are they doing? Ralph can bring awareness. Someone else could present the information. Someone else could sift through it and give it a good way of putting in the talking points. Everybody has their strengths and weaknesses. The thing is, like, we're so focused on infighting, we don't actually realize it. And so this is what I started realizing when I started interviewing with everyone, is what we could do. It's just, so I, before the stream, I started putting together people and said, Ralph, you talk to each other, pass this information. Even if you don't like each other, here's a person in between you can talk between you guys. Break up the cliques. That's one of the things that the QQ was talking about, is that we have fallen into cliques. We don't cross communicate. And that's one of the things that one of the GG Revolt people was saying, like, who else asks people from GG Revolt? Because that's what I did. I want to know the outliers. I want to know people on the outside of, or the outskirts of Gamergate. Our identity politics extends to things like that. We don't realize we use it because when you live in a civilization that say, oh, you're an E-celeb, you don't be heard. Oh, you're GG Revolt, you don't get to be heard. You're an SJW, oh, you don't get to be heard. Which I have to admit, I actually did that own thing too. I used the label and people got triggered. And then the funny thing is, Monday Matt said, why didn't you talk to me, Paolo, in his presentation? I'm like, Matt, I am here long enough to know that if I talked to you and you were on that list of people who said this was a good idea, people would definitely say there was a council. I mean, Gamergate has its own trigger words, for goodness sake. You have to admit that. So that's the kind of things you got to laugh about and say, yeah, that's what I'm like. And honestly, like, everyone's feelings were hurt. Who'd probably be the most hurt? Like me, because I'm the quote unquote traitor. I don't take it personally, because QQ was like, I'm sorry I didn't tell you what I was doing, Paolo. And I'm like, I figured it out after the trap was sprung, QQ. But at the same time, I had enough sense of humor. I mean, everyone who throws like crap at me at Twitter knows I make jokes out of everything, because that's just how I view people. I view people in life as a big as joy. Really, that's what it is. If you really take it down to it, that's the way people are. I look at the best in people. For the wrong that Netscape did, I did feel very very betrayed by that, because he is the head of the GG Commission. I have to admit, in my stream, I did attack him about it. And I do feel bad about that I did that. At the same time, there are things we also need to take responsibility for. I thought I was sufficiently open. Apparently not. Some people are saying, well, you're an E-celeb, so therefore you need to have some sort of responsibility. I'm like, what's a qualifier for an E-celeb? I wasn't an E-celeb before. What made me that? Oh, well, AirPlay. And I'm like, another one said, oh, you're an E-celeb because you have over 5,000 Twitter followers. And then like Ralph said, QQ is an E-celeb. And I'm like, QQ doesn't have 5,000 Twitter followers. He can barely get anything done with his Twitter channel. Whenever he's on stream, no one watches him. He can't get traction. So like all our definitions in terms of identity politics are all there. So we do use it. We're a part of it, and that's something we need to break up. But that's what I found amazing about QQ's experiment, because people got to talk. And even though we get mad at drama, we get exhausted about it, honestly, it's something that helps us, makes us stronger. Mike Cernovich, at the very beginning, when he joined Gamergate, called us anti-fragile. In other words, anytime anything attacks Gamergate, anything that hurts us, makes us stronger. After all the E-celeb drama at the very beginning, Circle C7, the person who's making the Gamergate documentary, you have to take a look at his stuff. He really wants to make a documentary Gamergate. He's a brilliant filmmaker too. He was with you, Aaron, when we were down at GG in Miami. He's brilliant. He was saying that the body of Gamergate isn't the hashtag. The body of Gamergate is Op Skynet. I'm like, well, what do you mean? He said, well, during the early parts of Gamergate, we started following, central hubs of information, mostly the streamers. When the Ecelab, big drama happened, he said, why don't we break this up? Let's do Op Skynet. Like someone who was small said Op Skynet. Then Roguestar said, okay, let's do this. And then everyone said, oh, look, Roguestar is doing that. Let's all do it too. So everyone started following each other. The body that makes up Gamergate on Twitter is Op Skynet. So why do we need the hashtag if we're all talking to each other? We see each other. We don't need to go through central hubs information. That's the difference between our network, which if you take a look at the picture of our network is like a huge mass. The reason of that is because of Op Skynet. The reason why the picture of like anti-Gamergate is so different is because it has centralized points of information. We are literally in an anon culture on Twitter. Anon culture as everyone's decentralized, at least as much as possible. So he was talking about the structures, our history. We were joking about like all sorts of things. We were doing this until 2 o'clock in the morning. That's the reason I was up till last night. But we said we need streams to talk about this Circle C7. We need streams to talk about our history, to celebrate the things we've done, to talk about these stupid memories of things that happened. Either way, like, I have to admit, like last night I still was a little bit hurt about it, but this morning Ralph was like, yeah, maybe I did jump the gun. And I said, I know you did. I know you did. It's okay. And that's a funny thing, like, I told him, it's okay. I know you jumped the gun. Your heart was in the right place. You believe more in the right thing than you're one of the people who have been with you through some of the funniest and darkest times of Gamergate. Yet you do the right thing. Can I blame you? No.
So you and Ralph are currently good.
Yeah, we're currently good. I'm helping him pass the information between him and QQ, trying to at least. And QQ was out when I said, hey, send this information over to this guy so he can get it to Ralph. Ralph will credit you. That's a big happening. But let me get this down, guys. Like, should we end the hashtag? My answer, after talking with so many people, after seeing the discussion, after being thrown so much like stuff, is no. We can't. And the reason why is because I talked to Allison Tiemann of the Honey Badgers. Allison said to me, she said she's been fighting this culture battle for a very long time. She stood up for the MRAs. She said, for the MRAs, I'm talking about men who've been outcast by the system, who can't get their kids, who've committed suicide. Sorry. She was telling me about how she stood up for the voiceless. She gave them a voice, but she wasn't able to do very much. And for her, Gamergate was the first thing that actually accomplished something. It got something done. So she's like, and so there she is.
Do you need a moment or?
No. She said, okay. Calgary Expo, flying our colors, Gamergate, fight censorship. And what happens to her? She gets taken down and censored because all she had to do was ask a question. And at that moment, I tweeted this out and I told her, at that moment, I realized who she was. She's the embodiment of who we are. This is who Gamergate really is. You look at her, this is who we are. Excuse me.
Take a moment. It's fine.
Sorry.
No, you can take a moment.
We are this. That has been our battle, to be the voice for the voiceless. How could we give it up? And I looked at her and I wasn't looking at her. I was talking to her on the phone and I realized we can't. And I asked her, and the fears that I had, I said to her, has there been anyone tied to the MRAs who was a criminal? She said, Elliot Rodger they tried to tie him to that. And she said, I realized my fear about being tied to a criminal was not there. She said, he's not you. Even though you're an MRI, Elliot Rodger is not you. And I said, that's right. And we saw this would happen with, what do you call it, Just Sweet Charlie, right? Just Sweet Charlie, when all these Muslims shot Charlie Hebdo. I saw Shabazz Bakari, the one who dressed up in GG in Burm. He's dressed up in that maid outfit. He tweeted out, "These people, these animals, are not my brothers." He's a Muslim. He's tweeted, and I realized the same fight happens to Muslims too. Just because one of us goes bad doesn't mean all of us are. That's the identity politics that are played on us. Allison flies the MRI banner proudly because she knows this is the voice for the voiceless. That's who we are as Gamergate. And we've done things. We've accomplished things.
Can we take a quick step back for a minute?
Sure, go ahead.
And this is a question that I occasionally ask. What are we fighting for in Gamergate? Because some people still say it's ethics in journalism. Some people saying it's reclaiming the gamer identity with everything that's been going on, especially recently. What are we still pushing for at the end of the day? What do you think we're pushing for?
I mean, it's so many things. It's a problem. We can't identify it. For me, a brighter future. I mean, and I talked to my wife about this early in our marriage. When I told her there's danger there, she said to me, "I want my sons to be proud to be boys and to be gamers." And that's why I said, okay, this is personal. For developers, we want to be able to create freely, and not just us. This is why Sad Puppies came into the thing, because we're part of fighting against this culture that wants only certain messages to be out there in the public. How many movies out there were killed because they didn't follow the social justice narrative? That's something that Adam Baldwin knows. He's a conservative actor in the middle of Hollywood. Can you imagine that? He's at least pretty much he's pretty much in the social justice area of Hollywood. It's there. That's why Breitbart has something called Big Hollywood. They talk about that stuff. I stepped away from politics in 2012 because I wanted to get away from all this. I was afraid. That's the thing that would make me most ashamed. In 2012, I left politics because I was tired of identity politics. I was tired. I wanted to get away. I wanted to go into gaming and make games, get away from the culture war. And it followed me to my front door at game development. And I said, there is no retreat. There is no retreat. They're at the door of gaming. I mean, like, it was one thing if it's politics. We're at the door of gaming and we can't retreat anymore. Where else is there to go? We can't even freely escape to game development. We can't freely escape to just be free in our imaginary worlds. We're not free anymore. What happened to that? So for myself, I realized that what Allison was doing was far braver than what I was, and that I was scared and tired. It made me ashamed to even think that we could possibly go home. There's no way. But as I described Gamergate to you guys, this is really our home. This is our identity. Even though identity politics is used on us, we can't get away from it. This is who we are. It's been, as Alex Lifshitz said, he wanted to have Gamergate branded on our skin. He wanted it branded on our skin, for goodness sake. He wanted Gamergate branded on our skin and make sure it was a scarlet letter for the rest of our lives. I am Gamergate. We are not leaving until we've reclaimed our industry and cleaned up. We are not going away until we help fix journalism and its broken systems. We are not done until we sufficiently equalize, at least equalize and contain this whole parasitic thinking of social justice where we can't break groupthink, where people have to do jazz hands together. I mean, it's insanity. And we've seen that darkness last week. And we've seen how we're staring at the abyss and it's staring back at us. And that is the moment we need to decide for ourselves. How far are we going? Now, what I've given to Ralph and what QQ has is another goal. There are more goals out there if we talk to each other, if we break up these cliques, if we simply stop concentrating on the drama. And if you need, and the thing is, not all of us can do this. I understand. Not all of us are made the same way. Ralph is not made the way I am. I know that Ralph is a fighter. And if there's anyone, number one fan out there who loves Gamergate more than someone who's his friend, it's Ralph. He's willing to throw me under the bus to do the right thing. Someone who was with him and who could have almost been killed with him. He's willing to throw under the bus because it's the right thing to do. That's Ralph. All right? He's a fighter. One thing I did tell him He said, I don't want to be a journalist. I told him, I don't want to be an e-celeb, for God's sake. I gave you the video of Brianna Wu because I didn't want to be known. He said, I don't want to be a journalist. I said, Ralph, look at your power. Look at your reach. Look at the responsibility you have. Think. Whether or not you like it, the responsibility of a journalist has been put upon you. Just as much as the responsibility of me being whatever an e-celeb does has been put upon me. We do different things. I talk to people. I try to connect people together. I try to bring people together. I am not nearly as inspiring as someone like Oliver Campbell. He is more of a preacher than I am in that sense. He does it all the time to help light a fire underneath us, and I thank God that he was there for me when I was between me and Ralph, because I don't know what would have happened between me and Ralph if he didn't get in there to get in between us. Because yeah, I sometimes get mad, even at a best friend. But what I told Ralph at the lunch table when we were having this discussion about this idea, I said to him, a real friend is willing to kick your ass and not just lick it. He kicked my ass because he thought I was doing something wrong. Is there anything wrong with that? So really, no. No one did anything wrong. That's the truth and end of it. Anyone who got mad at me, fine. I'm sorry. I thought I was open as possible. It wasn't open enough. I mean, the other thing that QQ did, yeah, it's treated trolling, fine. But look, what did it get people to talk about? What did it get? Ask yourself, what do you see in yourself? We joke about social justice being listen and believe. Listen and believe is not a social justice problem. It's a human problem. Social justice manipulates it and uses it for its own ends. So think about that. It isn't a social justice issue. It's a human issue. We have confirmation bias issues. We have trust issues. We're broken people. And it's okay. But despite how broken we are, despite how chaotic it is in Gamergate, despite how crazy it is, despite all this insanity we have, we still get things done on accident. All right? We do that. We're heading into something interesting with what Ralph has. I mean, what Ralph puts out there, I have no idea how to even present that information, but at least look at it. Take a look at it. This is the next step. Here's another op you guys can do. It's an attack op, Take a look, dig. It was actually the people who it was QQ who was trying to put it out there. It was Boogie Pop Robin who was doing the digging. He retired. He said it on KIA, but no one noticed it because of the drama. Who's Boogie Pop Robin? Oh, he's some guy on Twitter. He's a digger. He's one of the best diggers we had. He has some great information out there, but it needs to be put in the right people's hands. I don't know who those are. Gamergate is so much larger than the people I've talked to. I have only a small following compared to the bigger e-celebs. In fact, I can even argue I'm one of the smallest ones, but yet I'm considered one. I just like talking to people, and that's my thing. Ralph's thing is he likes to attack people. The developers who are here are the ones who will give us something beautiful to look at. The lewd posters and the trolls and the shit posters are out there, gives us something to laugh about at the darkest times of our lives, which is right now. We sometimes don't like each other because we have different temperaments. We all need each other. And as you said, the hands cannot say to the foot, I don't need you. The eyes cannot say to the mouth, I don't need you. The honorable parts of the body aren't ashamed by the dishonorable parts of the body. But we all make each other better. We can do this. And for those who think that, Ralph and I are mad at each other, no. I asked them, I came across wrong. I said, are you drinking, Ralph? I actually asked, the reason I asked is because he gave it up. He said he had a problem with it. Why? His job is tough. To be attacking all the time, to feel like you're being attacked all the time, it's tough. I can't do that. He can't do what I do. He can't do what I'm doing now. It's my thing. I can't do what you're doing, Aaron. You're a journalist. You can do things that I can't do. You know people that I don't know, and you can do things that I can't imagine. The developers out there can make things that are beautiful that I couldn't even imagine. We all need each other. As I said to Ralph at that dinner table, we either all leave together or we all stay together. No one gets left behind. And I mean that. I am Gamergate. And we're not leaving. Not till the job's done. And all we know, the ride never ends. Thank you, Eric.
What's next then?
Well,
I mean, obviously, for people in this fight, still talk about ethics in journalism. Still push for that change.
There's a lot there. There's a lot more in ethics and games journalism we can do. The conflicts of interest and found in this group, it's called critical distance. Critical distance.
And it's something I actually briefly talked to QQ about. Something that we've actually been trying to compile ourselves.
Correct.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Critical distance.
Critical distance actually is the group who formed a convention called Critical Proximity. You can look up their website. It has critical proximity there. Under critical proximity, you'll find a whole bunch of speakers. A lot of them are usual suspects that we actually all know about. One of them including Alex Lifshitz. Alex Lifshitz at Critical Proximity in his presentation, Sargon covered. He raised up the GTA 5 disc and snapped it in half and to a cheering crowd. That's critical distance. That's critical distance is the group. Critical proximity is the convention that they do right before GDC. There's a lot of COIs that are there. I don't know what they are, but I do know that QQ is trying to put it out there. They're not sexy drama, but if you put it out there in a format to say these are issues we need to talk about, and someone like Leo, someone out there who may not even done a video before, Mecca Vivian James has this great music video out there. I don't know what he or she can do as an anon. We have more songs to write, more jokes to write, like Deadwing Duck can do. Gaming and Pandas can do more, more charities, and we have broke till we get rich. He's on Twitter. He's trying to come up with an idea to do, gamer related fitness programs. I mean, I need to get fit. I gained 25 pounds because of Gamergate, so I want to get fit. He was talking about, he and I were fielding the idea of going to a Wipeout marathon. Wipeout is this place where you get knocked over these different obstacles into pools and stuff. There's a game version of it. So I'm like, hey, why don't we do that as the marathon, and we can all go wearing, Gamergate t-shirts as a team. We can go to conventions. We meet up at conventions and play games at conventions, and going out there, going back to the places we used to hang out and talking about these issues. We felt like we were all, in a way we were contained. We're contained in Kotaku and Action in our places. Why don't we go back to those old forums and see, can we talk about these things? If you're censored, other people will notice that you're being censored talking about things. So they'll say, what's going on? Why not? Why not go back? And the bigger point that I wanted to say was that for people who are SJWs, they also want to have fun. But in their mind, what they're having fun with doesn't click. It hurts them. It's like, like if you have a really religious friend who who can't play video games, who can't play Dungeons and Dragons because they're really religious. They come in and they sneak in. They look around if their friends are looking at them, or their parents find out I'm playing Dungeons and Dragons, but I don't want her to find out. Be their friend. Be that person who pulls them out. Says, hey, let's have some fun playing some problematic games, right? That's the thing. We need those friendships. We need that reach out.
And this has actually been something that when it comes to, because I did want to actually mention a critical distance, which we are mentioning, but I do want to jump on the SJW notion real quick. Yeah. Which is because it's the whole situation is a double-edged sword of social justice warriors. Because, well, when you look at the whole narrative as a whole, which is they're trying to push for some kind of social justice in some way, shape, or form. Because personally, I believe in equal rights for everybody. Personally, right. I don't care if you're gay, straight, lesbian, transgender, whatever. I don't care.
You're social justice without the warrior.
Yeah. So why do you think there's this stigma that they need to attack when when you actually talk to people within Gamergate? Yeah. It's a very diverse group, and it's like that with a lot of social groups in the club. Mm-hmm. It's very open. It's very collective. And if you go to like a convention, it's the same thing. Right. But then all of a sudden, these notions come in, and all of a sudden it gets very agitated. Why do you think that is?
It's called identity politics. I explained this in my other video. I said, okay, let me put it this way. Imagine there's a corporation out there who's taking government funds, misappropriating it, has a whole bunch of COIs between them and some senator or something like that, or they're misappropriating funds and using it for some like really nasty stuff that's going on, like shady deals, bribery or something like that, or just something like that, right? It's pretty clean cut. Not really sexy, but it has a lot of conflicts of interest. Maybe it even has like cronyism going on, right? Should be a clean news story. Let's report on it. Get it done. Now let's see what happens if I do this. What if I call this corporation Planned Parenthood? What happens? Well, if you attack this corporation, you're attacking all women. What if I called the corporation the NRA? You're attacking my rights. That's the whole thing. The labels of these things cause us to have emotions. We all have them. We all joke about the SJWs having trigger words. Council is a trigger word for Gamergate. Shill is in the one. E-celeb. The favorite shill word is mundane shill, right? Don't listen to mundane Matt because he's a shill. That's identity politics. Don't listen to this person. He's an e-celeb. I was actually joking about that last night. People were, you're not listening to me. You're blocking me. You're an SJW. It's human. It's human. But you have to find a way to get around it, identify it. Early in Gamergate, actually, this is the thing I really loved about, talking about religion in Gamergate is that I can talk about religion. A lot of the people I met in Gamergate, they realize it's a label. It's just a label. They don't get triggered by it. The emotion behind saying, I believe in a God. I've never met a group in my life who can openly talk about religion. Gamergate's one of them. They're like, hey, this is kind of cool. You don't believe in God? Oh, okay. I believe in God. Fine. What do you think about this? And then at the end of the day, if things get heated, you go down and play video games. And that's really what it is in the end. So, Ralph and I were yelling at each other because I was talking all this spiritual stuff. He's like, I don't believe in Jesus. And I'm like, yeah, I triggered him. But it's okay. And then he triggered me because he wouldn't shut up. And I'm just like, dude, let me speak. And he goes, you're not my daddy. And I'm just like, oh yeah. And that's why Oliver had to get in there. We needed each other. So
we've been seeing some people from the anti-side also jump gun and kind of go neutral pro.
Yes.
Again, if we go with the sides thing. But
yeah, but
I've been trying to understand.
Let me hit this one really quickly.
Sure.
As I'm talking about, playing those video games, playing with your friends who are social justice, they want to have fun. They want to let go of the anger. They want to let go of the hate. It gets tiring. The best person for that example is Ian Miles Chung of GamerRanks. He let it go. He loved video games so much, he let it go. The people you will not convince to ever jump ship are people who have money involved or people who have some sort of power and position involved in terms of social justice. But the ones who you can change are the ones who all want to have fun. There are tons of aunties I talk to who love video games, who, one of my favorite ones, his name is Moon Clinic. He loves blaxploitation films. And blaxploitation films are really racist, and he thinks they're hilarious. And I'm like, dude, don't you find this problematic? He's like, well, I can compartmentalize it in my mind. That hurts. That hurts after a while. The compartmentalizing of your brain. So in other words, you can enjoy something because it's problematic. It hurts after a while. Like that kid who wants to play Dungeons and Dragons but doesn't want to let his parents know. We'll compartmentalize it. It's human. It's psychological. But in the end, what wins people over is playing games, having fun, being children at heart, right? That's what it is. And Ralph says, "Oh, I came here to beat SJWs, and I'm not about games, I'm about beating SJWs." And I'm like, well, man, whatever floats your boat. But I'm like, at the end of the day, that's what he finds fun. That's his personality. He's the attack person.
Isn't there some people who feel that this is actually a big threat as well, with social justice warriors attacking us like this in some way, shape, or form?
In truth, social justice warriors are actually the red herring. It always has been. The whole thing with Gamergate is that we had real live conflicts of interest that we wanted answered. We wanted disclosures. We wanted new ethics policy. We wanted suspensions or firings, if necessary, as well as investigations. Right? none of that happened. Instead, they said, you guys are misogynists. Just like, here's a corporation, it's corrupt. Oh, it's Planned Parenthood. Okay, well, here's a corporation that's corrupt. Well, you guys are sexist. We're going to put a label on you. And, gamers, we have this narrative that gamers are angry. Okay, well, we'll apply it on them and call them sexist. Good. So then that's what happened. The social justice aspect of it is that we all got jumped. We all got attacked. We all got hurt by these people, and sometimes many well-meaning people who believed it. They are also well-meaning people. Many of the true believers are well-meaning people too. Can you get mad at them? I mean, really, at the end, can you get mad at them? No. What you can get mad at truly is the system. This belief system is really the issue. And unlike social justice warriors, we can self-reflect. And that's why I really hope comes out of this whole thing. A lot of these hurt people and this argument that happened was that through this social experiment that QQ threw out there, can Gamergate come out of it and self-reflect? That's something that SJWs I don't think can do. I think, and I have full faith in the people in Gamergate, they can actually take a look at this and say, hey, that was interesting, and if I distance myself enough away from it, my God, that was a clusterfuck of funny too, because it really was if you think about it. It made me read the headlines, and only read the headlines. It made me believe that this whole manifesto was an action plan. Someone asked me, like, is this an action plan, Paul? I'm like, look at it, read it. Does any reasonable person think that this is actionable? And they're like, no. I'm like, exactly. I mean, the thing, like, here's the other thing. The list that I gave to Netscape 9, right? Why would I give a secret list to Netscape 9? Who is Netscape 9? Barely anyone knows who he is. He's not an e-celeb. Occam's razor. It's not a secret. I'm openly telling people what I'm doing. So that's the whole thing. It's like people have their fears in them. Look at your fears. And it's okay to have these things. I have mine. My God, the exhaustion, the prompting I had, I didn't realize how badly the whole thing that happened with Sarah Nyberg, how much it hurt me, how much it made me scared. And that the reason I was asking this question about running off in the sunset, part of it was because I wanted a clean win. I wanted that happy ending. And ashamed because I realized I had to sit and fight. I ran away from politics in 2012 because I was telling my college friends, look, if you don't fight this now, pedophilia is going to become normal. Have you heard that from, they said that social conservatives were really insane because they're going to normalize pedophilia of XYZ. What do you see now? What do you see now, guys? Were social conservatives that out of place with what you're seeing with the cognitive dissonance levels to protect Sarah Butts? Or even people like, feeling the idea that there's no moral wrong in pedophilia, which is what Ben Kuchera said. It's quoted. And if it's a real quote, it's bad on me. I'll say I listen and believe that one because I don't like Ben Kuchera. I don't even know if that's a real quote. I just saw the meme. So, full disclosure, I didn't actually research that. But if he did say that, what do you guys think? Were the social conservatives wrong? Well, I didn't listen to the social conservatives because they're called social conservatives. In your mind, you have that bias to not listen to social conservatives because that's their label. Just like conservative people don't like to listen to liberals because that's their label. I said I was Tea Party. Would anyone believe that, the way I act? I am Tea Party. I was there at the very beginning of it. I have a picture of me shaking Glenn Beck's hand, for God's sake. Is that the picture of a social conservative? Everyone knows I'm religious, right? Is that your image of a religious person? No. What is the identity politics? To believe that all religious people are like X because of my emotional, personal biases. This is identity politics. It's human nature. It's our broken human nature. But we have, together in Gamergate, a group of such diversity. It's amazing. Have you looked at how diverse we are in terms of ideals? I remember on KIA, the Reddit thread where it's like, well, what political, I'm sorry. One of them said, I'm sorry, I didn't believe you about the progressive media to conservatives. And then the next person said, well, it's okay, bro. Another person said, well, I'm a socialist. Another person said, well, I'm like a radical. Another person said, well, I'm an anarchist. And all of them are like, wow, this is a political zoo. That was a thread on KIA I saw one day. KIA is the only place I can see a thread one day about I'm a skeptic, I'm a proud skeptic, and therefore that's why I joined Gamergate. And then the next day, we have on the front page a quote by C.S. Lewis, an atheist turned Christian. Like, is there any place that does that other than things that are related to Gamergate? On 8chan, on GG Revolt, as well as GGHQ, we have these amazing threads that go and discussions that are going all the time. Check both. Check V. Check what V's talking about. You know, that's the thing. Like, find those outliers. Find those people you don't really talk to. I mean, it may not even be in you to do it, but that might be just me. It might be just me who does it. But if that's fine, that's fine with me. But I talk to everybody, and that really is my little thing. So in the end, we're all okay. Okay? I admit I am still kind of mad at Netscape 9. I'll admit that. And there are barbs out there that I put out for him in all sorts of places. And I'm sorry. So I'm also human, just like the rest of you.
How do you feel about opening for live questions?
Anytime. I mean, I'm here. The one thing I'll tell you guys, and I'll apologize for, because everyone's been tweeting at me about this, is take care of yourself. I haven't slept. I haven't. It's like 1 o'clock. I haven't eaten. I just realized I haven't eaten. But but the thing is, in the end, I love you guys. I'm here in it for life. I told you, I'm here in it for life. We're gonna own this identity. We stand with Allison, and we're all in it together. Now, let's open the floor. Thank you, Aaron. Aaron, I wanted to say thank you for this opportunity.
No problem. Thank you for taking the time to do this. It was a last minute thing to ask you, I know, and it's been crazy for you.
No, I mean, it needed to be done, and this morning was a turning point, and I'm glad it was, because I woke up like really early and I saw what Ralph was tweeting, and God, we both need a drink. I'm glad I can drink, because God, I need one.
I think everybody's on a similar page right now, especially with everything that's been going on and how everything's just been evolving and changing. Let's open the floor for questions. We're probably not going to get some questions initially. So if you have any questions you wish to ask Paolo or myself, you can ask on the live chat on YouTube on GJN's channel, or you can use the hashtag AskGJN. That's hashtag AskGJN. You can also tweet to myself at Aaron Pabone, and Paolo, I think you're getting tweets as well. So
I can't read the tweets, man. I can't. It's too distracting. So I
okay,
just try to talk.
All right. So yeah, any questions you feel need to ask, go right ahead.
First question, Aaron. Is there any bomb threats on our on our thing?
On our thing?
Yeah.
Well,
I'm just kidding, dude. Because yeah, you and I, we were at that we were together at the bomb threat. So,
yeah. It was.
I'll never forget.
I don't mention this a lot. That was actually in my 9 years as a journalist. That was my third bomb threat. Really? Yeah, that was my third or fourth bomb threat I've ever been in, and I'm not including the times when I was in college and someone did that so they can get out of a final. I'm not counting that. But the interesting thing is, like with the two previous bomb threats I was in, there was a genuine fear because I didn't know if those were real or not. Yeah. Like those were threats, but you're there, you're covering a story, and it can be real. And I'm sitting there watching AirPlay live as it happens right in front of me. I go upstairs, I talk to John Smith, who's in the control room, and we just hear police saying, "Get out." I thought we were getting swatted at first, and then we hear bomb threat, and I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I was very passive about it, and I'm like, "Yeah, all right." And I'm from Miami originally. Now I'm in Tampa. I'm from Miami initially. I'm like, man, why couldn't this be in any other state? Why couldn't this be in any other county? It's hot as hell outside. And
yeah, I was joking about it. I don't think people knew about it. I said that the bomb was actually a ruse. What's trying to kill us is the sun, because gamers don't go outside.
Oh my God. No, it reminds me of that meme of like the guy in the computer. It's done in paint. The guy in the computer, the sun's out. He closes the blinds, goes back to the computer. Yeah. But it's one of those things, because now and someone actually wanted me to bring this up was I'm not trying to show this out or anything, but AirPlay too. That's something we've been planning and whatnot. And it's something that I've been actively talking to some people online, I would pull them aside and like, hey, you know, your thoughts on this, your thoughts on that. And something I didn't get to ask you a lot of. I've been super busy planning on different things, but what would you like to see differently at AirPlay 2? That because you were present for the first AirPlay.
Yeah.
You went up there, you did you said your whole Gawker thing, and then we even had you on the midday stream as well. What would you like to see differently?
Well, I don't know if this is true or not, but this is something that I feel is sort of like interesting with Koretsky. And to his credit, I believe there's an elephant in the room in journalism. You know, Koretsky was actively trying to avoid something and try to be more constructive, but I think the elephant in the room is that there is a progressive bias. The issue with journalism is that it has no confirmation bias checks. Like, you know, scientists have confirmation bias checks to make sure that the data that they put out, the research they have is out there is confirmed. You know, for like certain news stations, like is there a way to fix that? You know, a lot of news is hidden as opinion now, which is a huge deal in this thing. So those kind of discussions I think need to be had.
I'll tell you one thing personally, which is, I've been a journalist for 9 years.
Yeah.
And in those 9 years, the only job I can ever hold as a journalist has been freelance work, has been doing all the odd stories and whatnot. And the stories will range from anything from news to local to sports to human interest piece. It goes back and forth, covering something local for a high school or a college. And, it goes back and forth. That's what I've been doing for years. But I've always tried to hold myself to that standard that, I don't want to presume bias. I don't want to presume anything in that way, shape, or form. I'm a personal believer where I will not say what political allegiance I lie on because that could presume bias. I do not want to give my 2 cents a review on anything as much because that would presume bias. I make it very clear if I have an opinion, this is my opinion, no one else's. I do not speak on behalf of my channel because it's not me I'm representing. With GJN, there's 2 other people involved in this. Yeah. And if I say my opinion, it's going to be their opinion as well. No, I don't want to do that. This is my opinion that's in the story. Yeah. And there's not a lot of room for that in journalism. And to be quite frank, you don't see a lot of journalists come up, apologize, and keep on going. Sometimes you do, and it's always like a quick error, like they accidentally said a cuss word on TV or something like that.
Or like Kotaku's apology about what happened way back when Stephen Totilo was investigating this whole thing. That really wasn't an apology either. And that's another thing that set this thing on fire.
It really wasn't. Because, we bring up with the whole situation with the unfortunate shooting of these 2 journalists a couple of weeks ago, and it got misattributed to Gamergate. Mm-hmm. There was never an update article. The article itself was updated at the top of the headline, but the problem I saw at the end of it was there are people who have no idea what Gamergate is. There are people who have no idea what's going on. They saw that initial article. They have no idea the article's been updated. There wasn't a follow-up piece or anything like that. So there are some people out there who might still believe that this person was involved in Gamergate, and Gamergate is this bigger movement. And that's been a big problem in journalism for years. I've always went with the whole notion of I want double, triple, quadruple confirmation before I say or do anything. Yeah. And initially I was actually going to do, this weekend I was going to try to do a live stream about Tokyo Game Show. I announced it before. That was one of the first things we wanted to do because I've been trying to move GJN away from, I've been trying to move GJN away from covering Gate heavily. Like, I'm still going to cover Gamergate. Yeah. There's still a newsworthiness of it. There is a journalistic issue with it. Yeah. And it needs to be covered. But when it came to something like Tokyo Game Show, I've been asking people, how should it be covered? Everybody knows what's going on. Everybody's watching the live streams from Tokyo Game Show. We don't have translators who are going to translate it. We were just going to be reiterating information that people already know. And we're not going to do that live stream anymore. It's not what people want. People already gained that information. So the biggest question at the end of the day was, what should a gaming journalism site cover and do?
Yeah, I don't know, frankly. I mean, the person to talk to probably I talk to sometimes is Brandon Arcelli from Niche Gamer, or Georgina White from Tech Raptor. I have no idea. I mean, these are things that those are people you could probably talk to and ask about that. I think they'd be envious you're going to Tokyo Game Show, man. So, but I don't know. There's lots of people I've been talking to, but if you need to do a handoff, if there's anyone I know who has the answers, go ahead and tweet at me, or tweet at Aaron. Definitely, we have a huge network of people here that I have no idea what their skill sets are. Hell, there are government analysts that are in Gamergate. Did you know that? You have like trained psychologists that are in Gamergate. There are artists, and it's like the skill sets that are here. I have no idea. It's amazing. So, I mean, there's some people here like, VG Bounce House has all this great, great stories, and he's trying to make an archive of like all these different ads, and it's just amazing. And it just so someone gets credit. Red Star Warrior, the organizer for GJN RVA, made this shirt. That was his thing. He came into Gamergate after the Reddit revolt. That's when he realized that Gamergate was right. So we're getting more normies is basically what's going on. We're not getting extremists. We're getting normies as Gamergate goes on. The Occupy Wall Street effect will not hurt Gamergate because as time goes on, we add more and more normal people because it's normal people who realize that there's an issue going on, and that's why Gamergate's just getting bigger. And someone pointed out to me at the very beginning of Gamergate, there were some extremists. As time going on, the drama level actually dropped. And when I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, you're right. The current drama has nothing to do with extremists getting in. I thought that was my perception at first. That actually the reason why I thought extremists were getting in is because we're connecting with more people again and all sorts of diversity of opinion. And there, for the first time, I guess in a while, I found people I didn't like. There's a few people out there I don't like, and I'm usually very laid back. So, but yeah, in terms of that, I don't know. Maybe, heck, the greater gamer community could tell you, not just the journalists, but the greater gamer community. Like, what do they want to see in Tokyo? I actually have a friend in Tokyo who's been there, who actually did a Periscope or something like that for Mark Kern, who's been living there. Maybe you can meet up with her. Her name is Luminary Zion.
Well, we're at the point where. Unfortunately, we already made the decision that we're just. I've been talking to many people about this. We're just not going to do Tokyo Game Show. Like we were thinking about it. It's just.
Oh, you're not going. Oh, you're not going. Okay.
Like we can't go. It's too late already. Maybe next year, depending on how certain things take off on this channel. We want to do E3 eventually. We want to cover game journals. We want to do it in a different notion, and that's something that we've been also trying to do is. I've always been a firm believer of distancing the journalist from the reviewer. I can't review video games. I could, but I shouldn't because I'm a journalist and I'm recusing myself for that. That's something we're still trying to figure out. We do have plans. We actually we're gonna announce some stuff later soon. But let's go to actual questions because that's what we were supposed to be doing.
Sure.
The first question. Okay, I'm actually trying to look up questions right now on the YouTube stream. Okay, the first question. Okay, this one's from Byron. Why are you asking us about questions if you're not reading them? Well, that was actually the first question on that. So yeah, we're reading them now actually.
Well, it takes a while for the feed to catch up sometimes, so.
Yeah, that was actually the first question. Not to call you out, Byron. Like we're actually trying to do questions right now, so sorry about that. I'm trying to. Not a lot of people are asking questions yet. I mean, but if you do have any questions, please ask us on the YouTube screen or ask us on Twitter as well. You can ask at Aaron Pabone or using the hashtag #GJN. Should I ask you the troll questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's lighten the mood a little bit. Did Hitler do anything wrong?
Let's see. He had good intentions.
No. That Genghis Khan really had a great idea. Oh man. All right. So I'm actually trying to find a good question to ask. So, ask him if he's on board with everything that was written in the Surrender Manifesto, and if he still thinks that Gamergaters are a bunch of radicals. So. Let's take that as a serious question for a minute there.
Okay.
All right. Do you agree with anything written in the Surrender Manifesto?
What it addresses is identity politics. What it can't do is be implemented. It's not human. It's impossible. So in that sense, like, is it possible or pragmatic? No, of course not. The Surrender Manifesto also is like it's stupid, and that's the thing. Like, I had a stupid idea, and then QQ said, well, it is a stupid idea. Well, here's my stupid idea. And I'm like, yeah, it is a stupid idea. That's how it was. We're just throwing shit on the wall. And so that was all it is. I don't believe it's right. And in the end, after listening to so many people, and I said, like, when I talked to Allison, that was the definitive moment. I said, yeah, that we can't do it. It's not possible. It's not human. It's only human for us to identify with things. So only some people have the clinical ability to not look at it. Harmful Opinions doesn't look at Gamergate as an identity. Neither does QQ. But they have a very clinical mind of like keeping their distance. But for myself too, I called it a movement. I have a T-shirt now, and I have said many times, I am Gamergate, and I'm not going anywhere. The ride doesn't end. So it can't be done. So either way, that's the end of it. Let's put that aside. Let's own it up. Let's take on the flag. Let's wear our colors and do it proudly.
Okay. I think it's fair enough on that. Okay, I'm trying to look at the next question because the chat log's being weird on my end, unfortunately. So
yeah, I'll take the troll questions too. I mean, people who shitpost on Twitter with me or on Reddit know that
I completely understand. I mean, I just feel like there's always a time and place for it, it depends on the situation. But
my favorite one on KIA was like, would you rather be swamped by 100 duck-sized horses or a horse-sized duck? And like things like that. I'm like,
question: what weapon do I have? So I can accurately answer that question. Anyway, the Deuce asked, what kind of analyst is QQ? Is he a professional? I thought he was. Well, we don't know who he really is.
No, he doesn't. He's anon. He's completely anon for good reasons, for his own safety.
I actually asked him on the stream yesterday, and yeah, he does have good reasons for it as well. He's trying to keep his personal life separate from this, and I understand his reasons as well. I think it's safe to assume, and I should not be assuming as a journalist, but I am making it clear I am assuming. I would say he's an amateur analyst. Since I don't know what his credentials are, I don't know what his backing is. I can only say amateur at this point. I mean, what do you think?
I think he's a mad genius. I think he is. I think he knew what would happen to me. Oh, here's the thing. In the order of people he told me to talk to, I thought about it, and I'm like, you put us in a specific order for me to go through to these certain people, and that I never knew about, and I would talk to. I mean, or that he knew I already talked to. And he had an idea that one of these was somebody who would overreact.
Right.
He knew it. He actually knew it. He knew the people in the cliques. He knew what was going to happen. And apparently, like, he was able to time it in such a way that it appeared like we both were saying the exact same thing, and that I had endorsed his plan. I had no idea he was doing that. And I was like, so when I think about, when I'm just looking back upon it, I'm like, he not only was able to plan that, he was able to know the psychology of the person's all these things involved, able to see the group think, I mean, that's the thing. He has that gift. Harmful Opinions has this gift of looking at things a really off way because of his, in a way, because of his autism. And after all these, I have a middle son who has autism, and the more time I spend in Gamergate, the more I realize it's a superpower, because the autists in Gamergate are able to look at information differently. They're the ones who are able to say, identity politics is an issue and identify it. They have that gift. I'm not able to do that. That's the amazing thing about it. So QQ, I have no idea who he really is, but I can say he's a mad genius. He's a troll. People may not get along with him. Ralph certainly doesn't get along with him. But he is interesting. Every single person I've met has been interesting. And there's a few people I haven't gotten along with, but they're damn interesting too.
Okay. We got a question from our old friend John Smith. Paolo, what do you think the next big happening will be?
Well, we already told you about that, and just to remind you, if you missed it, I asked the QQ to give a lot of the information over to Ralph. QQ has been doing and trying to signal boost it, along with you, Aaron, these conflicts of interest that have to do with critical distance.
Right.
Ralph is going to publish it, but we need people to actually take the data and put it in a way that gets people's interest. so that it's so people understand that this is the issue. Internet Aristocrat back in the day, now Mr. Medicare, has the ability to do that. He's no longer with us in a way, and he still does his own thing, but he had that gift. And there are a few people who are in Gamergate who also have that gift. So find a way to take that information and present it in a way that's actually really sexy. But that is happening because it is huge conflicts of interest in this group, and it needs to be talked about. They're trying to find a way to shield every single way of being able to discern a conflict of interest by putting a curation group around it. So in other words, it's a filter. In other words, it's not a journalist out there who says this is my article. It's a group or corporation. It's no longer personal. You see that? That's a switch. It's not it's not Patrick Klepek who's doing this article. It's critical distance. That's what's going on. It's like QQ understands it better than me, and the COIs are all there. But if you guys can like take a look at it and present it in a way that's really catchy, do it. The other happenings we have, like, there are people who want to do more charity. We need more positivity, guys. We've been handling some really dark stuff. Let's do some positive stuff. There are people out there who have ideas from game jams, and I have to be honest, there are tons of ideas that were thrown at me at one time. I wish I could signal boost all of them, but I think you understand I've had quite a bit to deal with. And so yes, I'll get to them. And for those, get those websites ready, because there's one guy, Shemi, I believe his name is, _ SHEMMIE _ he was trying to get together with another person how to do a Rocket League game tournament. I mean, can you imagine like a tournament of everyone in Gamergate playing certain games and like fighting games?
Right.
And
no, I would love to see that.
Me too. We're gamers.
Personally, I would love to see that.
And like, there are other people who aren't gamers who've joined Gamergate. Find them, recommend them games, buy them games. We have Steam and Humble bundles coming up. We have like the end of October. The reason why there was a time frame, just so to put this in context, is that because Ralph said, how are you going to do this and implement it all in October? I said, well, wouldn't it be neat if we vanish on Halloween? That was the idea. Let's vanish on Halloween. Poof, we're gone. That'll be a great trick or treat, because people were like, where the hell did Gamergate go on Halloween? It'll be a good end, but that's beside the point. But like, yeah, we have the Halloween sale for Steam coming up, so maybe get a couple extra games and send it out there. I've met people in Venezuela. This one guy, his name's Carlos Joystick. I had to buy, or he got a prize to make RPG Maker, to make his own game. I've been signal boosting him. His problem was that he could never buy it because he doesn't have American dollars. He's in Venezuela. But now that somebody gave him a copy of it, he can make a game. This is the connections we have out there, guys. It's amazing. Let's do this. I mean, the solution 6 months idea that Jennifer Daw came up. It's not mine. I signal boosted a lot, but Jennifer Daw was the one who came up and said, look, in 6 months, can you learn a game dev skill? What is a game dev skill? Music, art, programming, writing. Any of those things are under the solution 6 months tag. I even proposed way back in the day, I never got a chance to implement it. Why not make games in frickin' what's it called? The thing that Depression Quest was made out of. I don't have it in my mind. Whatever that thing was, the Twine. Yeah. Why not make a Twine game better than Depression Quest? Come on, guys. Like, do it for fun. Do it for trolling. Do it for, because, experimentation. Leigh Alexander said she could make a game out of Twine and she has no skills. What kind of skills do you guys got? Come on, do it for fun. Make fun of it. Total Biscuit made one. He made one for fun, just to make fun of stuff. Do it. Lo Ping had the right idea when it came to this whole thing with with Sarah Nyberg. He actually put some positivity to this thing. He started a charity for lost, missing, and exploited children.
Right, and that's something that I've seen you post a couple of times. I've seen. What was the other one? It was
Op Sock Puppet. Sock. Oh, what happened with that? It wasn't even my idea. What happened was I tweeted a picture of a homeless man. That's a meme. It's a meme picture. It said, don't give me food like this or jackets. What homeless people need most are socks. And
right.
Homeless shelters need it. And then somebody who had an idea. He's like, his name was Chris Williams. It's spelled with ones. He said like, that'd be a really neat idea. I don't live in the United States. I need someone else to make the crowd rise. So I said, talk to Lo Ping. He knows how to make together a crowd rise. So Lo Ping put together the crowd rise for Op Sock Puppet. He came up with the idea. He tried to make a meme graphic which I was able to help him with. We put out the meme graphic and got the thing going. The only thing I function as is a signal booster. So other people saw what I was doing, they signal boosted it too, and then eventually that's how it came together. But like I am not smart enough. I am not. You can see like my house is all messy. My autistic son sits here and plays Roblox all the time, and you see up here that's his trigger chart, because he has all these different triggers and how to calm down. He loves bunnies and stuff. But yeah, like there's stuff you could do for that. I mean, come on. We are a creative group of the most. Gamergate is a culture of joy. That's what it is. That joy turns into passion, which is why people look at it and say, look at all this energy coming at you, Paulo. It's got to be a hate group. No, it's passion. Passion has two edges, love and hate. The only reason people were mad at me is because they thought I betrayed the cause. Would I feel the same way? Yes. So anyway, those are just ideas out there. I am not smart enough, and I'm damn tired. So someone come up with something better.
I'm sure someone will. I mean, it's one of those things that happens out of nowhere. Good question. Next question. This is to you. My reading of the Paceman was that it was a surrender manifesto. It included things like accepting that Gamergate failed. Are you sure you're not rationalizing the failed idea?
No, because Gamergate has succeeded in other places, and QQ did that on purpose. He wanted to see what people thought. I'm like, I argued with him. I said Gamergate was a success in our chats. I said it succeeded here, succeeded there, succeeded there. You know, do you think the thing is, the problem, the easy victories we had at the very beginning was that there were non-disclosures, and that the Gamers Are Dead articles came out. That was our easy victory, and then bring back bullying, which was the Achilles heel of Gawker. That was our early victories. Now that disclosures are starting to get out there, how much harder is it for us to hammer at some of these places? That's something I was thinking. So it might be just a new normal for us to call it out and to tell our friends, don't listen to these sites. So for me, that's a victory in that we were able to get disclosure. Because I mean, as Oliver Campbell had said, you know, every single time you read a disclosure, it's because you did it, guys. You know? So that was the way I couched it. I mean, I couched it all positively, and QQ is from the perspective of this is perfection. If you really look at the document, this is utopia he's talking about. So from the perspective of utopia, Gamergate didn't meet all its goals. True, because the perfected goal of Gamergate is in the sense like, you know, an ethical industry. It will never be 100% ethical. We always have to be watchful. There are certain conflicts of interest we can't really like follow directly. So QQ's view, his pessimism, quote unquote, comes from the fact that he's doing it as a very clinical, perfectionist way. That's the thing. You have to, you have to check your confirmation bias when you're reading things. You have to understand the context and the person who wrote it, why they're writing it. This is the problem with the Bible and other holy books, right? People read it and they don't understand the context of things. Text, listen guys, text without context is pretext. That's what happened to that manifesto. Someone took the text without any context and they made a pretext based on their confirmation bias what it really was about. It was a devil's advocate that QQ knew was impossible, but let's throw this on the wall as an idea.
Right.
Fine. So that's the end of it.
It was trolling. That was the end of the story. And that was actually one thing, because we were going to...
The troll was him fielding it out and trying to find out who was going to do that. So,
because that's the thing, because like when we first read this, you know, Ralph had published this. I had briefly talked to you before all this went down, and it was kind of one of those, well, should we report it on or not? Because it's one thing. There's no multiple confirmations. We weren't sure how we were going to do this.
Hold a second. My wife is calling. My wife is calling me as an emergency. Hold on. I'm just going to check.
Yeah. So we will continue asking questions in a second. Let's see what when he gets back. We'll see what happens there. But if you do have any questions, please post it on the YouTube chat. As we did mention briefly before, yeah, we're not covering Tokyo Game Show on this channel. People are already covering it, so that is something unfortunately we're not doing. But we will continue something later on the road.
Okay, I'm gonna take off the camera for a second. I gotta take a picture of the grocery list. My wife forgot it. Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah, I can still talk, but I just need to take a picture of the grocery list for my wife and text it to her. But go ahead. What was the next question?
All right. So yeah, go back to next question. Well, first of all, Brian said, "Thank you for reading my question. It was a serious one. That was the one that asked the Hitler question." But one question we will ask is, you already answered this actually previously, but the answer again for some people. Why did Ralph write that Paolo wants to end Gamergate when he talked to him on the same day, knowing it was just a pitch of an idea? And you said that Ralph was just passionate about it, but TLDR, why did he write it after you talked to him the same day?
Well, here's the thing. Ralph also has his own triggers. I told him at lunch. I said, Ralph, okay, imagine this. You've seen those movies where this person's in a fighting frenzy. They're fighting, and you have someone who pulls them away from the fight because the person's dead, right? Pulls them away. You're ready to kill the person. That person's in the frenzy mode and cuts you accidentally. Ralph is always fighting. He's always fighting. So from that context, like, Ralph thought that this was yet another attack. And here's the thing: because people keep attacking Ralph, he has a tendency to believe that nobody's got his back. That's the context of Ralph. So when Ralph is there and people are attacking him from behind, and he doesn't know what to expect. He wants to put out the truth. I mean, that's the thing. He wanted to put out the truth, put out the data there, let people judge it for themselves, which, clinically without context, it's all true, right? But without the context surrounding it, it looks really bad. But if Occam's razor, as I said, Occam's razor, if it was a secret list, why am I sending it to someone who's not on the list? I just simply told the truth. So, I mean, it isn't a secret. That's the simplicity of it. But Ralph's saying, why? Because from the standpoint of his perspective, he's very attached. Okay, if there's anyone I would say who's a #1 fan of Gamergate, it'd be Ralph. Because he never wants to give it up. I mean, people will cynically say, oh, he's all about the money and stuff like that. And I'm like, dude, the guy barely makes any rent. Okay, he literally does live at home with his parents. He can't afford it because he doesn't make that much money. Ad revenue is not that great. Ask for goodness sake, Brandon Orselli from Niche Gamer. He gets a lot of traffic from us because he has a game site. How much money does he make from his ad revenue, right? He doesn't. He doesn't make very much. He actually needs help with the Patreon. So does Tech Raptor, because they don't get the clicks. I don't know how, Kotaku and all these other places get so many clicks, but that's a real issue that needs to be solved. I am not smart enough to figure that out. But Ralph, despite all the traffic he gets, doesn't get very much money. I mean, people say he's the next Gawker. I'm like, dude, if he made even a tenth of the money of Gawker, the guy would be set. He doesn't, and that's the context of it.
I mean, I've never really disclosed this, but we do monetize videos on this YouTube channel, but we're not making any money off this YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. I'm not. I have not gotten to the point where I wanted to open up a Patreon yet. I've thought about it, but I'm not going to do it just yet. I have other things to worry about, but I'm not trying to make my bread and butter off of this. I'm just trying to do my due diligence as a reporter.
Yeah, I mean, someone could go on my channel and see, I do have ads turned on, but the reason why is because my co-host Starius he has brittle bone disease also, just like Hot Wheels does. I talk to him all the time. He said he never wanted to tell anybody because he didn't want to be the next Hot Wheels. And I'm like, dude, if you need money to help with this stuff, I'll turn on the ads. I mean, if you look at the number of thousands of people who views that I've got, I've only made $1. That's the kind of stuff we're looking at. How do you fix this stuff? So Starius, he does 3D graphics and stuff like that. You can talk to him about it. He's a great guy and he's funny on streams. But in terms of making money, ads don't pull in very much.
Right. No, it's if I look at the metrics I actually just looked at the metrics before doing this stream, was in total this channel GJN has only made $1.25. And
oh my god.
And that's from ad revenue, but it's to be quite frank, the only reason why we turned on monetization, again, this is not my bread and butter. I'm not trying to make money out of this. If I do make money out of this, to be quite frank, it's just to update the equipment that I'm using, because all the equipment that I use for GJN is personal equipment that I've had over the years. I'm using a webcam for my Mac. Yeah. I'm using a you know, a simple lavalier mic. I'm using a headphone from a Bluetooth MP3 player. Like that's it. Like it's all shoestring equipment. You know.
Well, that's the thing. Here's the amazing thing, Aaron. Like, we have all this like low-end technology stuff. Like all of us are like just barely cobbled together. Yet we're able to defeat corporate empires.
Oh well, it's no secret that I mean I admit sometimes I do have a teleprompter.
Mm-hmm.
I do use a teleprompter in some of my things, and it's not $1,000 teleprompter. It is a piece of cardboard I painted black and a pane of glass and my iPad. The iPad is the most expensive thing on the teleprompter. And that's what I use. And I use it more so like I do my best to memorize what I have to say. I use the teleprompter as a cue and thing kind of thing. But you know, if I ever did make money on this channel, it's just updated equipment. That's it in the story. I'm not trying to make my bread and butter off of this. It's nothing of that nature yet.
Yeah.
Maybe later on down the road. I don't know. I don't care. But like right now, my big thing is I'm just trying to conduct journalism.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to quote Leah Alexandra, I am journalism, and I never thought I'd ever say that in my life.
No, you are journalism or you are games journalism?
You know, there is one video we did post a while back, which was, you know, game journalism 2.0. I just want to do this correctly and prove it can be done correctly. That's my only agenda in this entire thing. Let's go back to questions. Let's go back to questions real quick. And let's actually try to speedball some of these questions because I think I'm running low on time on mine, unfortunately. The last question that was asked was from Gamergate Deutsch. He did ask another question. Another question. Paolo wrote off that he now sees that hashtag Gamergate shouldn't end. Why does he think this when he was a supporter of a completely different idea just 2 days ago? Now I'm a firm believer that opinions can change.
No. I was fielding the idea and getting feedback. The entire time I was fielding ideas. I said, okay. As I said in my Reddit, the AMA, I said, look, I'm a religious person. I got this idea in church. The first thing you do when you get an idea, a vision in church, is you go and get your head checked, right? That's what you do. I went over and I said, QQ, is this a good idea or a bad idea? It's a bad idea, Apollo. But here's another one. I go over to a whole bunch of people in the G Miami group. I said, is this a good idea or a bad idea? Well, here's a good idea and bad idea, Apollo. Check it out. And they're like, okay, well, go to this person. That's the thing. That's what I did. I said, I checked. And the thing is, like, the reason I quote unquote seem to defend it on Twitter is that people misconstrue it. They say ending Gamergate. I'm putting a context. The ending of Gamergate is we take off our uniforms like this, go in plain clothes, and we're cops still doing our duty, but we're not. They can't tell if we're Gamergate or not. I mean, that's the idea. It was just crazy. I mean, the best idea is like, well, can you imagine all of us saying that Gamergate had ended, and officially, and then of course the game journalists are like, yes, Gamergate officially ended. We won. Blah blah blah. Quinn and Wu, who are they gonna blame? They go, oh, Gamergate's after me. Gamergate's after me. Well, Gamergate ended, on Halloween. Who's after you now? Right? That was the idea. It's just a troll. I mean, I was out there fielding it. So everyone's like, why are you still defending it? I'm not defending it. I'm giving a context of what it really was supposed to be about. And that's what I've been telling people. It's a bad idea, but it was just something to ask people about. That's the thing. But let's not mischaracterize the argument. That's the thing. What's going around is that people are mischaracterizing what the idea is because they only read the headline. They don't know the context. That's why I was going to do a video to give it context so I can give everyone a context of what it was supposed to be about without it being misrepresented, without any, thing. Because the analogy that it's cops without uniforms came to me just yesterday. I'm like, that's a better way of putting it than how I was telling Netscape 9. We're still here. We just removed the label. And, Ralph has said, yeah, you're just talking about removing the label. The machine's still there, but you just remove the brand name on there because so people can't tell what the machine name is. But in the end, it's only human to identify with it.
Right.
So.
Next question. Actually, this is a parentheses actual question. If you were going to write an episode for South Park critical of Gamergate, what would you put into it? If there was an episode of South Park about Gamergate, and they recently did an episode that was kind of making fun of social justice warriors to some degree.
Yeah, they're guys. All I can say is, I've talked to somebody. Watch South Park this entire season. Okay, I mean, I'm not shilling the show because this guy works for South Park. He actually knows someone who works in, so it's like two different. So I'm not shilling South Park, but give it a watch. You're going to see some really interesting stuff about social justice warriors. And the truth is, this is the other concern, is that the truth is that social justice warriors are being attacked on every single level of society. We have South Park who's coming after them now. We have a movie coming out of them in a little bit from, it was the Green Inferno. We have them being attacked on Sad Puppies had the nuclear option so people can see it right there in the open, that you get 4 no wins. The social justice, they unmasked the clique with Sad Puppies. They're being attacked on Hollywood, and comedians don't like them anymore. Like, Alum's right. What Gamergate did was that we unmasked the evil. We showed it for what it was. It's an ugly hag. It's okay. Was that sexist? Was that triggering? It probably was. Sorry, guys. Okay, if I were to make something critical of Gamergate, a South Park episode to lampoon us, I'm going to do Poe's Law. Dude, what could you possibly make fun of Gamergate that hasn't already happened,
Yeah.
This week, just this week, would make a great South Park episode of 4 people who all had good intentions fucking it up, right? That would make a great South Park. I mean, goodness gracious, if you just take a step back, this is the funniest fucking thing that's happened. Seriously. But that, this is, people say, like, Paulo, get some sleep. Paulo, get some sleep. I'm like, this is too fucking funny, guys. I can't put down Twitter. Because I put down Twitter for 2 days. And I said, okay, I'm going to come on Twitter to check out what's going on. And my whole feed is full of Samus lewds. Because all of a sudden, Brianna Wu triggered Gamergate because she had Samus is a trans woman, and all of a sudden, to counter her, people are talking about Samus, posting pictures of Samus, posting lewds of Samus, because I follow almost everybody back. So I have lewd posters on my feed, and I'm like, what the hell is this?
Let's briefly talk about that, because that's actually something that that was something kind of blown out of proportion, which was even so.
Okay, Brianna Wu is a genius. She knows how to trigger us. She really knows how to do it. We can't not talk about her, so she uses it to her advantage. That's something that a lot of us are saying, don't talk about Brianna Wu.
It's sad because I've been wanting, and I actually emailed someone from Brianna Wu's staff. I've been wanting to interview her.
Yeah.
I've wanted to hear her side of the story. I still do, in some way, shape, or form. I still do. And I think the reason why they're probably not going to come on is because, well, 1, this is a YouTube channel that only has a couple 100 subscribers. Yeah. 2, they think I'm probably going to hit piece them. I want to genuinely know what the hell is going on their side. And, it's kind of sad because, she's not going to come in the air.
Yeah.
And my questions would have been, is there anything on the pro side of the argument you think is legit? I mean,
yes.
I think I want to know what she thinks on the pro side, and I want to go back and forth because I do sometimes ask the Can
you hear me? Yes. You know what she said? I met her in person. Do you know that?
No, I did not. Because I know you took the video of Ralph getting kicked out. I do remember that, but you met her in person.
Yeah, well, I did meet her in person. I listened to her seminar. Here's the thing. After Ralph left, I couldn't let the cat slip out of the bag that I was actually with Ralph. So I actually was there for the entire presentation listening to her. And so she even said, and unfortunately I don't have a copy of this because I wish I did, but she said, if there was a hashtag that actually talked about ethics that wasn't Gamergate, I agree that there are ethical issues. She said that. I remember that in that tone of voice. She said that. I was like, I thought about it. I'm like, dude, I wish I had audio of that because I'd really want to check if that was really true, because she did say that to the whole panel that was there at RavenCon, and I don't think I told anyone else this, but the RavenCon. Okay, the RavenCon is in the middle of the South, right? It's in the middle of the capital of the South.
Texas?
No.
I'm sorry.
The capital of the Confederate South.
Oh, okay. See, I was just trying to make a joke there. Yeah,
no, it's the capital of Confederate South. So she's there, and in the entire room, okay, so you imagine there's in the entire room of this, there's about 40 people. They all fall under airports law. and I don't know if you know this one. Do you know this joke, Aaron? Like everyone there is either a Goonie beard man or a rainbow-haired she-twink. And I'm like,
Well, I'm
dude.
in Florida, so I have an idea.
Yeah, but I was like, dude, this is in the middle of one of the most conservative places in the middle of the country. And these are the people who are at this panel. And I was just laughing at myself because I'm the only other Asian person there other than there's actually two other minorities who were there. It was a sheriff who was waiting for Ralph, and Ralph, was not manhandled or anything like that. He just left peacefully on his own, who was a black man, and Frank Wu. Those were we were the only minorities in this room. So I was just laughing at myself at the situation I was here, stuck with Brianna Wu, listening to her seminar, and we were the only minorities there. But either way, like she did say, and I attest to this, that she said, if there was a hashtag that talked about gaming ethics, I agree. There are ethical issues in games journalism. She said that emphatically. A lot of the antis I talked to agree that there are ethical issues in games journalism. I've been on streams with a couple of them who said, yeah, there are problems. They need to be solved. But the thing is, they said, well, why didn't you guys talk about this a year ago during Doritos Gate or even before then? And I'm like, to put it in context, gamers are pretty laid back. We understand that game journalism has problems. They had to somehow make money. A lot of us were giving, these sites have to somehow make money. Okay, fine. They take money from Doritos. Okay, whatever. Jeff Keighley does that, or this site does that. Whatever. It's not really clean. It's kind of dirty, but okay, we'll give it a pass. What changed the game was when we were attacked as an identity. Our first identity, gamer. That's what changed the equation. Was that we were attacked as an identity. Our requests were reasonable to have an investigation, to have an apology, to have disclosures, to have a new ethics policy, suspensions if need be, firings if need be. That's the normal procedure.
Right. Because I've said this before, if you look at normal, you go to college journalism, or high school journalism. If the stuff that happened before, from Gamergate related to happened in a high school paper or a college paper, they would have gotten fired. Right. And I have never talked about this publicly a lot. I do sometimes, privately. Is this? I've been fired from 2 college newspapers for doing my job.
For doing your job?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because well, when we look at college newspapers, it's a smaller setting. It's like an island nation, and only you talk about the college, and that's the end of the story. Right. So my second year being editor-in-chief, we always do this test at my old college, which was, you take a step back and you let the entire staff do the job. You let the entire staff do the job, and the only thing you do is approve of the paper before it gets published. And one of the stories that was covered was that there was going to be massive layoffs at the school. This was something that was being talked about behind the scenes at the school, but there was no 100% confirmation. So we had everyone on the staff get as much information as possible and report on it. Now, we found out that there was going to be 200 people laid off from the school, but here's the thing. The school is divided into 8 campuses. Mm-hmm. And an error that slipped through was that it was a single campus that was getting 200 layoffs, not the entire college as a whole was getting 200 layoffs. So that slipped in, and that caused some level of panic. Now, I was only given the article. The article was accurate. As far as I know, the article was accurate because the person who fact-checked the article said it was accurate. I had no idea what the headline was going to be until I saw the actual paper. The paper comes out, causes panic. The first thing I have to do is talk to the school, find out what happened. I was going to do a retraction about the headline because the headline was inaccurate, but I didn't know the headline was going to be anything of that nature. Yeah. And I was going to vet the staff. Yeah. I told the fact checker, listen, here's what you did. Here's what you got right. Here's what you got wrong. Don't do it again. Next time you're going to be fired. The next day, the school comes down, says that there's going to be a new college newspaper advisor, takes all the college newspapers from all the 8 campuses, consolidates them into one newspaper because that seems to make sense. Yeah. And says, well, you're no longer going to be editor-in-chief. We're demoting you to a bureau chief since there's going to be one editor-in-chief in charge of the entire newspapers. That means
Aaron, you there?
Up.
Okay, there. Okay.
You're not going to get a job anymore in this paper. I decided, screw it. Here's my letter of resignation. I'm done. I tried to do my job. And the person they hired as the bureau chief was the person who screwed up in fact-checking.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So it's funny how, like, you know, journalism is very strange like that. So if something like Gamergate was to happen in college newspaper, someone would have gotten fired. And I got fired for doing my job.
What was the population of the college you were at? How big was it?
Oh man, 8 campuses. I want to say. All right, the college was Miami-Dade College. And Miami-Dade College is one of the largest community colleges in Florida.
Right.
So I would say it's a pretty large population. I was at one of the largest campuses as well.
Yeah, yeah. How big do you think? Estimate.
Oh, man.
Let me see.
I want to say, including college students, I want to safely assume 100,000.
You know,
per semester.
That's about the same size as Gamergate at its middle estimation, from what I can tell.
Yeah.
Can you know, because if we include, like, you know, Sargon's channel, Twitter, we include KIA, and, you know, the image boards, we're, you know, around 100,000 people. Any of our broadcasts that get out there affect at least that many. So we have a network that does that. So it's pretty massive when I think about it. So, like, so is there like a low end that you say, what is the lowest threshold you'd say this is journalism, as opposed to, you know, like a blog at that point?
So what do you mean?
Like, you know, someone's writing a blog versus this is journalism. You know, what is that divider? That's what I'm wondering about. What is the divider between someone blogging versus somebody is a journalist?
You know, that's a good point, because you know, for the past couple of years, before Gamergate, up until I want to say post Occupy Wall Street, I was a firm believer that citizen journalism was a bad idea.
Yeah.
You know, I always felt that if people, you know, to me, blogging was essentially a more fancier version of live journaling.
Right.
That's what I always thought it was. It was people going online, just saying their opinion, saying what they believed in. That wasn't in the story. The problem, the fear is that people who were bloggers were getting some level of authority. You look at Perez Hilton. Perez Hilton is not a journalist.
Yeah.
You know, he started off a blog. He started doing gossip, and all of a sudden, people are looking at Perez Hilton as some level of authority. You go on major news sites, and some people are saying, well, Perez Hilton talked about this, and now we should talk about this because he's a trusted source. Where did that come from? And that was a big fear when it came to citizen journalism, because Tom Brokaw said it actually at a lecture I saw in New York a couple of years ago, which was, would you trust a citizen surgeon?
Ooh.
Yeah. Now, that was a couple of years ago, and I took that to heart. But when we look at the situation we're in now, especially with Gamergate, there are people who are bloggers who openly admit and say they're bloggers and make it very clear, I am not a journalist.
Right.
So when they say that, there's a level of authority there, because they're making it very clear. Look, I'm a blogger. I'm a journalist. I'm a blogger. I'm not a journalist. Here are my opinions. But now, because they're saying that and they're making it very clear who they are, there's a level of fact there. And it makes sense, and it's perfect, because people are recusing themselves in that situation. And we have bloggers who are putting in journalistic practices. They're making it very clear that here's the person I'm connected to, here's the person who funded this, full disclosure, I know this person through this person, this person, this person. And they're doing something that journalists are not doing, which is very scary. I think
that's an interesting conversation to have. That's an interesting discussion to have at all. I mean, I didn't realize, I mean, like, the fact that someone can simply put on their front page that I'm a blogger and like Perez, and like be able to basically sway a whole conversation, you know.
Right. Now the thing is, like,
truth be told, like, you know, Ralph put out there nothing that wasn't infactual. I mean, like, at least from what I could tell, from at least the post that he put down, everything he put was pretty much accurate. The ones that I have questions about are, like, Paulo said this verbatim. I'm like, that's memory. I know you say that said verbatim, but I don't remember the exact wording that way. But that's something you did. So either way, it's like, okay. But that's the only thing. Either way, like, it's that kind of information. I'm just wondering, because everyone should know it's a blog, but at the same time, people are taking it as a news source. So it's like, that's something. I mean, Ralph himself had told me, like, privately, like, I'm just a blogger. I don't want to be a journalist. And he told me that during this morning, I said to him, like, you know, but you have to realize, you know, I told him, you have a lot of power to sway opinion.
Right.
That's why I also told him, look, we have an attack operation to look into these COIs and really bring it out there. Why don't you use that to point us in that direction too? Because we can. And that's something it's something that we can do together. These are the things that we guys are learning. We've created a community that's as big as Miami-Dade, if you think about it, if not bigger.
Right.
We can't visibly see the edges of it. And I was just simply starting. I was only 2 days in my thing. I was only talking to people I was ready to talk to. There was more people I was trying to bring into the conversation. I wanted to talk to, all these other places. There's one TeamSpeak apparently where people said if you join the TeamSpeak, they're going to joke that you've been cast out of Gamergate if you enter this TeamSpeak. I'm like, that's interesting, Q. Like, why did that happen? Like, there's a history to it. I don't know what exactly this history is. It'd be interesting to talk to the people there. That's the amazing thing. There's so many cultures. I mean, GG Revolt itself is an interesting culture. And that's why I wanted to find all the outlier groups. Because Gamergate isn't just Twitter. It isn't just KIA. It isn't just the image boards. It's more. It's you, Aaron. You're part of it. That's the thing. Like, I remember I was really mad at Ren LaForme at this whole thing. I was mad at him. I really was mad at him. After the bomb scare, I looked at him and I shook him in the hand and I said, "Welcome to Gamergate. You're one of us now." Because we were together for this part of the ride. So yeah, that's how I look at it. I mean, yeah, I was mad at Ren, but at the end of the day, I could laugh about it too. So.
We actually have some people. I'm looking at the chat back and forth because some people are saying that gaming journalists ought to be called consumer reporters. It would help people understanding what their job is supposed to entail when it follows consumer.
Hey, look, guys, look. Yeah, well, if you look, you can say there are consumerist thing to make a distinction. We have a blog. We have a known blogger who was taken as a journalist. That's what happened. If you look at the situation of what happened now, what was conflated, this whole thing, we have a blogger who was taken as a journalist. He says he's a blogger. People say he's a blogger. He says himself he doesn't want to be a journalist. He wants to be an opinion writer. He's his own blogger. Yeah. Right. But people took him as a journalist. So even if you put in my title, Stephen Totillo, consumer opinionist, people will still take him as, because he has a symbol of authority because of the publication, which is Kotaku. So I don't think that changing the title of the person is going to make a difference. I mean, we have tons of op-eds that are coming up and down, that talk about Gamergate in one way or another that people are taking as news. I don't know I don't know. I'm not smart enough. This is stuff we had to bring up at AirPlay too, but I'm not smart enough to figure that out. I mean, I want to leave it to the people who are smarter than me. Whoever goes to AirPlay too needs to talk about these things. So whoever's listening, these are notes and stuff that you need to bring up too, Aaron. But
I plan on it.
It's like, what happened? I mean, the damage to me, if anyone's asking, the damage to me, if you're worried about me, is lack of sleep and eating, because I was busy talking to everybody, telling them I'm okay, joking with people and stuff like that. I'm fine. That really was the major damage to me. I'm sorry for everyone else out there who felt hurt and betrayed, and I understand, because we live in a culture where we have lost so many heroes of our own, and we don't believe in heroes anymore. But you know what? We are the heroes now. We can be those heroes. We're doing things that no one else can do because we're gamers. We live our alternate lives as heroes, and we have brought that into the real world. As Oliver said in my stream, we brought back life to an aged scholar by the name of Christina Hoff Sommers, who thought that her lifelong battle against social justice was coming to an end because she wasn't making a difference. Who made that difference? We did. And we can't give that up. We're never going to give it up. It is branded on our skins that we've done this, and we will finish it. Even if it means, it takes our whole lives to make this better, and we'll always be vigilant. And then I could proudly say to my son, when this when this, every 10 years, it's a different moral panic, right? Every 10 years. My son's 10. When he's 20 and he could proudly say he's a gamer, that'll be one of my goals. Maybe in 10 years, I don't know what the next moral panic will be, but I think they've gone to the far extreme. Maybe by then there will no longer be a moral panic. Maybe by then we will no longer think of video games as something to be feared because all of us grew up with it. I don't know. Maybe we'll see it in our lifetimes. But all I know is that I'm in it to the end, because we will have to watch journalism in the age of the information age. That's the thing that people don't remember, is that we have gone to a massive shift in human civilization with the internet age, and journalism is still trying to figure itself out. Journalism 100 years ago is not the journalism of today with the internet. The YouTubers, you're far, far more powerful sometimes than TV stations and 24-hour news networks, and sometimes far more entertaining. Jimmy Fallon himself was, making fun of people watching Let's Streams and stuff like that, but we know that gamers are the future of YouTube too, and all these different streaming things. We are the future, guys. This is our crossroads, right? Who are we? And that's a good question to always ask. Who are we? Who am I? The unexamined life, right? You have to always ask that question. So QQ was right too. Question yourself. Now, I don't expect everyone to all be good and hugging at the end of this thing. There are going to be some hurt feelings after that. Trust will be broken, but that's okay. We can still move forward because we are anti-fragile. We are Gamergate. End of discussion. Aaron, thank you so much for being bringing me on this channel. I know you said you had to go around now, right?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to sign off, unfortunately, in a little bit. Paolo, thank you for coming on. I think it's time you get some sleep. I think a lot of people are.
It's the middle of the day here, and my kids are coming back in about an hour, so I don't have that option. I'll just go get something to eat. Find you guys on Twitter, see what you guys said. Find if the bonfire, if they're gonna put me on a fire. If I survive that, I'm gonna go give Ralph a drink because I owe him one for that. Because the way I came across was I was really overly enthusiastic, and he took it the wrong way. God, if there are more meetups, there are going to be more meetups. Let's all have a drink together. And for those of you who don't drink, let's have a soda together then, right?
Have a drink together, smoke them if you got them, water or coffee or tea, whatever your drink is. It's all fancy to you. Paul, thank you for coming on. Before we sign off, I just wanted to say this because I was originally going to do another thing on Saturday. I guess I'll do it now, real quick. I've been debating on how GJN was going to continue because it's something that when I started GJN with my executive producer, who is also occasionally my cameraman, who happens to be female. So, and is my. It's been one of those situations where we started it off because I wanted to report on Gamergate as a journalist. That was it, end of story. I've been a journalist for 9 years. I've studied journalism. I've worked in different areas in the field of journalism, which is why I can say I'm a journalist. And it's up to you, the viewers, you can choose to believe I'm a journalist or not. Some people have said, how do we know he's a journalist? How can we trust someone who claims to be a journalist? Well, I went to college for it. I studied it. I've had my comeuppance when it comes to journalism. I've covered different events over the years, local politics, national politics, human interest stories, sports, different things of that nature. Been an advisor as a journalist for a while as well. And we initially just wanted to report on Gamergate. Slowly that has changed to, well, let's do games journalism correctly. We asked viewers what you would like to see when it comes to covering events like Tokyo Game Show. We've made the decision we're not going to cover Tokyo Game Show because there's already people streaming it. There are people who are doing Twitches, there are people doing YouTube streams who are talking about everything that's been going on with Tokyo Game Show, and people are already reporting what games are coming out and things of that nature. So yeah, how do we consumer report on journalism in the long run? Well, we've been debating on how we're going to do this. We're still going to report on Gamergate. That is an important piece of gaming journalism we will still cover, but we're going to cover gaming journalism as a whole. We want to talk about what's going on in the industry. Anything that drops at the end of the week, we're planning on doing this very soon, kind of a This Week in Gaming kind of show here on this channel. How the exact format will be, we're not sure yet. Will it be live streamed? Will it be something pre-recorded and put online? It's something that we're still working on, but we want to do it in a different level. We do want to do occasional live stream interviews, like you just saw with myself and Paolo. We want to do them once a week, maybe once every other week. We want to do podcasts in some way, shape, or form. But the biggest thing that will be different would be we don't want to review video games. I'm a journalist. I should not be reviewing video games. That is something that needs to be separate. And that's something we've been wanting to figure out is, well, people want to hear reviews on video games. And we've came to a conclusion on how this should be done. And I'm not going to review video games. We're not going to bring on someone who would just specifically be a video game reviewer. We want the public to review video games, which means we're not going to get an early copy of a video game. There's still no clear understanding on how that would work. We want to open general questions to the public and have people tell you what the game is about and what they think of the game itself is. So essentially what we want to do is bring on people on the stream, have them talk about the game, what they like about it, what they don't like about it, but the general public, people you don't know. People can make comments, people can tell you what their opinion is on the game. No one of an authority saying that I'm a reviewer, what the public thinks of the game. Because there are people out there who are wondering what games are coming out and what they think about them. I've said it before with Star Wars Battlefront. Everybody's giving high allocates for this game and it's not even out yet. People are saying it's going to be the best Star Wars game ever. The people who are Star Wars fans who remember the original Battlefront don't like the new Battlefront. There are people who are talking about it. And these are things that we want to cover on this channel. And when we figure out the format, when we figure out what we want to do, it'll be on this channel. So like, subscribe to this channel. If you want to help out Game Journalism Network in any way, shape, or form, you can email us at gamejournalismnetwork@gmail.com. We're looking for volunteers to help us out with that. And we're going to be continuing going forward. We're still going to talk about Gamergate. We're still going to ask questions about it. Hopefully we can get someone on the other side to talk about it. And AirPlay too. More on that on this channel. We'll be happening soon.
One thing really quick. Want to show
Sure.
somebody. His name is DocuFox or Circle C7.
Yeah, he's the one who's doing the
documentary on
Games Aren't Dead documentary.
Yes, he wanted to do it. He actually had an Indiegogo campaign that didn't go anywhere because no one knew him. Both you and I met him at a GG in Miami. I'm going to try to have him on a stream very soon on my channel because we had a late night discussion at 2 o'clock in the morning reminiscing about the comedy of Gamergate and all the funny things that we had done. He's been around for a very long time and he actually saw everything that happened. So he knows so much about Gamergate and ideas and anthropology. That he's an incredible mind, even though he's trained in just being a cameraman is really what it is. So right. If anything, I would love to have him on a stream on my channel, and also and to let other people know that he wants to get this documentary going, because in my opinion he's one of the best people to do it because he knows Gamergate and also in a way that I think would be great to show to the world. We need more of that, guys. So do whatever we can. I mean, heck, we had the Not Your Shield project we did one time where everyone's talking, and why am I in Gamergate? Let's do those compilation videos again. We need those kind of things again. We need the stupid songs we used to do. I love the Gamergate songs. Shill Alive was my favorite. So, and oh yeah, and We Do, the journalist We Do, that was a great one. And the one that Mecca Vivia James, who did the year one anniversary video, this is a rock and beat that I love. So let's do these things. Come on. Either way, yeah, I'll be talking to DocuFox on my channel. I don't know when because I just need a little rest. Love you all, and see you guys on Twitter most of the time, on KIA and wherever else. Take care.
Have a good one, Paolo.
You too, Aaron.
I'm Amber Bone from Game Journalism Network. Thank you for tuning to this stream. Have a good one.